It has already been 20 years since he left Earth and found himself in another world. Today is his last though, as he will defeat the last beast and save the world. A ball of fire explodes onto the ground, creating a crescendo of noise as the earth cracks beneath it. The monster is surprised that he endured such an attack too. He is truly befitting to be called a hero. That said, his companions are barely hanging on. The hero, Hyun Seok, doesn't know about that, as he doesn't look that good himself. The beast charges another attack toward him, but Seok just clashes with it, spreading the remnants all around, forcing them to shield themselves. The demon tells him that if he will not submit, he will tear him into pieces. This land is a kingdom forged by his teeth and claws. He will not let him ruin this. Seeing the incoming strike, Seok blocks and dodges while he can. After that, he grips his spear tightly and notes that they should end this, as an aura of power exudes from him. His ensuing strike is like a dying star, creating an incredible amount of light as it cuts through the earth like a hot knife. Hyuk then jumps away from where he is and begins to clash with the demon, breaking through the arid ground around them with ease. Suddenly the demon claws at Hyuk, and even if he blocks, he managed to cut him in the eye. He laughs, thinking that he has the upper hand, and notes that attacks of this caliber will never scratch him. Hyuk flips the spear in his hand, and notes that this is more than enough to take down that arrogance of his. Eventually, the demon's crown falls from his head, and he stands with the spear lodged inside of him. The demon is surprised. He never expected to find a human in this world who could stand against him. Hyuk tells him again, he is not of this world. The demon says that he won't listen to his nonsense until the end, but it doesn't really matter. He may fall like this, but his body will be absorbed into the land, and one day, he will come back, like always. Suddenly though, the demon feels something strange, the feeling of erasure. Hyuk notes that he must be having trouble regenerating now. This black flame that is burning him is paradox flame. Unlike a normal flame that burns using oxygen, this one uses abstract concepts like fuel. Resurrecting himself over centuries was his thing, but it ends now, because what the flame is using as fuel right now is his very existence. The demon understands, then this is truly his end, but even though he may disappear for good, he will never be remembered as the hero who saved the world. The people he believed to be companions are really just waiting for him to die here, but Hyuk has known for a while now. The saintess tells him not to listen to that beast, so Hyuk starts with her. She claimed that she loved him and tried to seduce him every day, but in truth, she despises him to death for being an outsider. Her attempts at seduction were all part of a plan, so that when the time comes to purge the hero after the subjugation is over, he would hesitate to attack her. Judging by the lack of response from her, he seems to be right. The other two are more of the same. The knight, in order to eliminate him after he killed the monster, received a national treasure from the emperor. He was afraid he would take his throne after all. And the mage, who loves to experiment on humans, hates him simply because he's against slavery. All in all, the fact that they would kill him after his head is something he's known for 5 years now. The demon does not understand him. With the power he used to defeat him, he could have easily destroyed this world, which turned him into its martyr. Hyuk simply states that he did not do that because he wanted to go home. 20 years ago, in 2005, on Earth, he was a simple 30-year-old office worker until he was led by a being named the Goddess and transported into this world. Naturally, he accepted, thinking that it was going to be some laid-back isekai where he gets cheat powers. But the moment he arrived, he realized that this was not that kind of world. He tried every method possible to return to Earth, but there was only one way, to defeat the monsters and save the world. So for 20 years, he trained to fight against monsters. At one point, when he rescued a child from an attacked village, the guards didn't want to let him in, as he was just a waste of medicine. This alternate world, which chose to abandon the wounded, was extremely cruel. But the more serious problem was the medieval levels of medicine and hygiene. They resorted to amputations for infections. The healers were all mobilized for battle, so nobody was there to treat the wounded. As he carried the injured child, he was stopped by a bunch of priests, who wondered how he managed to get a child captured by monsters back. One of the nuns said that the child survived because a demon had taken root in him. They should exorcise the demon, since they are already in the middle of a few exorcisms. This is what Hyuk hated most, these disgusting excuses for humans, with no concept of humanity. And so, after enduring 20 years in this cruel world, he finally defeated the monster and saved the world. It's all over now though. The knight approaches, noting that he's relieved he found out. They cannot let him live, under any circumstances. Hyuk says he's perfectly fine with that. He despises this world anyway. Even so, the knight hesitates, as this bastard should have taken enough damage to die now, but even so, his aura remains intact, meaning he's just as powerful. Hyuk breathes in deep and screams out, telling the goddess that he has completed the mission he was given, so he wants her to keep her promise. Suddenly the dark sky begins to shatter and burst open with holy light. The goddess herself appears, noting that he has endured lots. Through his efforts, he has defeated the final monster. Hyuk points at her, noting that once he did this, all the experience and memories he had, and even his soul, would be preserved, and she would send him back to Earth. The goddess smiles faintly, and asks if he truly does not like this world, even though he gained enough power to be a threat to even her. If he returns to Earth, all the achievements he had here will be void. Hyuk tells her to cut the act. She's just relieved that he's leaving as promised. The goddess says nothing at first, but then notes that this world no longer needs a monster like him. But will he truly not regret this choice? Hyuk drops his spear, and notes that the only thing he wants is to return to the world he knows. That is all. He looks at his calloused and beaten hands, noting that this world is finally behind him. As a beam of light envelops him, the goddess notes that his physical body has already died on Earth, so he will be given a new vessel. He asks which body he's going into, and the goddess notes that she cannot explain, but it's a body fated for a wretched fate, although she is certain that he will survive. Hyuk doesn't care, as long as he can return to Earth. He doesn't care about any harsh fate he may face, as it will surely be better than the hell he had to survive here. Slowly but surely, he opens his eyes, and he is met with the ceiling of a modern room. The year is 2025, and he has entered the body of civilian Yu Chan-seok. He gets from his laying position, glad that he won't have to linger among those traitors, but then spots a mirror, and closing in on it, he can see who he has become. It feels unreal that he is back to Earth. He puts his face into the tap water, very glad to see that it's clean and uncontaminated. This is the real stuff. He opens his stove too, making fire at the press of a button. No more chopping wood and making campfires. Suddenly though, he feels the smell of what he has missed most, that being actual fried chicken. He picks it up like it's a holy relic and takes a bite, making him shake with excitement, as this is what real food tastes like. Tears roll down his face, noting that he missed it all. Finally, he can live a normal life. He said he would adapt to anything he was going to face, but will that truly be the case? Chan-seok takes his time, feeling the hot water that pours down without having to wait, the cold air that comes out with just the push of a button, and even a clear, bright sky. Truly, this is nothing like that nasty other world. He will never watch an isekai again. Since the year is 2025, technology must have evolved quite a bit. Just as he thinks of playing some games, a monster appears right at his window, making him fall on his ass. At the same time, an announcement for all residents is played, as a corrosion rift has appeared within the apartment complex. Chan-seok wonders what that is, but the announcement doesn't stop there. All residents are advised to evacuate to the underground shelter immediately, as soon as possible. Chan-seok is naturally confused, not knowing what is going on, but he doesn't have time to think, as a bunch more of those monsters have appeared, and are now beginning to crack his very fragile window. Naturally, Chan-seok chooses to run, the hordes of monsters still being after him, but he wonders what they are, and what the hell is happening on his peaceful Earth. Eventually, he gets rid of them by clinging to a window. He didn't expect to do exercise the moment he came back, but whatever. As he continues walking and turns a corner, he spots a kid with a stick, who didn't think he'd find a person. Chan-seok asks why he's not running to the shelter, but the kid just wants to know if he saw where the monster went, as he wants to go kill them. Does he want to come too? Chan-seok is naturally confused, but has no choice but to tag along, as he couldn't just leave a kid alone with those things going around. The kid explains some stuff to him, and Chan-seok repeats it to confirm it. A corrosion rift is an exit that monsters come out of, and nobody knows why they appear and when. The kid confirms as such, and Chan-seok sulks to himself. He went through a living hell to come back to this place, only to find out that it's become a hellhole too. That damned goddess, she tricked him. The kid wonders how he didn't know any of this, and Chan-seok notes that he was just living in America for a time, and just came back. The kid wonders how he managed that, as the US president got impeached for trying to secretly ship his daughter to Korea. Chan-seok doesn't even know what he's talking about, and asks again about the hunter he likes. Who was it again? The kid excitedly notes that he was talking about Lee Soon. She's in the Janabi Guild, ranked 10th on the entire planet, and her main weapon is a greatsword. Right now, she's in Chiorwan dealing with a corrosion rift. Chan-seok is surprised to hear this. A normal human fighting a monster? Just like that world he came from then. But how is that possible? As the kid continues explaining stuff about her, suddenly, Chan-seok puts his hand over his mouth, as just around the corner, he spotted monsters. And a lot of them too. There seem to be 5 in total, but there's one hiding too, so there's 6. Thankfully, this body of his seems to have above average strength. He's used to fighting multiple enemies at once, so there's no issue. But what should he do with this kid? If he leaves him alone, he will definitely do something foolish. As he continues to wonder what he should do, he suddenly feels something waft through the air, which he recognizes as mana, the same as in that other world. If that is the case though, then he can do something. Suddenly, one of the monsters bursts into flame, right in front of the others. Even though the mana he built up for 20 years is gone, if there is mana in the air, it means that he can still use Paradox Flame, which has been engraved into his very soul. He thinks the firepower is rather lacking, but this should be more than enough. The kid thinks that he's amazing now. He was a little skeptical at first, since he didn't know anything, but to think he has a unique skill. Suddenly, he runs off, claiming that on the official Hunter Academy YouTube channel, they said that confirming the kill is really important. Chan-seok tells him to stop. His skill doesn't stop until the target is dead. Before the beast that's lunging at him can hit though, Chan-seok grabs it, and notes that he doesn't know what a YouTube is, but he should probably stop watching it. Of course, that doesn't apply to a manhwa addict. He borrows the stuff he is holding, and as the other monsters charge in, hungry for human flesh, Chan-seok whirls the piece of wood around like a master, taking them out with swift and deadly blow. The kid is shocked at this point. This is amazing. Is he a secret hunter perhaps? Chan-seok just damns his fate, to think he would have to smell the stench of blood even after coming to Earth. He went through all that torture, hoping that he would get to rest easy, but if this is what Earth is like now, then it is no different than the other world. Eventually the two arrive at the doors of the bunker, talking about nonsense, and the child's mother immediately spots him, and goes to her child. She sees Chan-seok, and guessing that he brought him here, she thanks him from the bottom of her heart. Seok says it was nothing, but looking at how luxurious his mother dresses, this kid was a rich young master, which explains his bravado, if anything. Suddenly, the entire bunker begins to shake violently, and something punches through the thick reinforced wall. The beast rips it apart completely and screams out, almost grinning at the fact that it found so many fresh morsels. As everyone runs away, screaming for their lives, the kid tells Seok to run too, as this is probably not something they can defeat. Seok doesn't even hear him. He just thinks that he was not asking for a lot. He just wanted to return to the world he knew, to his home that he missed so dearly. Was that really too much? He calls out the kid and notes that he seems rich. So why is he trying to become a hunter? Can't he just hide out somewhere safe and live comfortably? He doesn't have to fight at all. The kid looks seriously at him and explains that he lost his dad to a monster. A corrosion rift opened up in the underground bunker they thought was safe. That's when he realized that there's no safe place on Earth. Even though he is not as strong as he is, and monsters are still really scary, he's going to become the strongest hunter, get rid of all the monsters, and save the world. It sounds stupid, but he's going to do it. Seok smiles, noting that he will become a great hunter, just not one that will be able to save the world. The child's mother notes that they should go now too, but the kid doesn't want to, as this mister is still fighting. Suddenly, they hear a large blast from behind. It was Seok, who made the beast burst into flame. He notes that he's going to do it. Something like saving the world is a job for someone who has done it before, after all. Later, Seok thinks on his situation, thinking that he was summoned to another world, fought for 20 years, and transported back to Earth just in time for him to not be able to enjoy his new freedom. Fortunately, he survived his first encounter because of his past experience, and he promised the kid he would save the world, but he didn't do jack after all. As he wins another MOBA game, he thinks that this is far too easy, and opens up another can of soda. It is true that someone who saved the world can probably do so again, but so what? He said it with such confidence in front of everybody, but his desire to save the world did not last long at all. The games and abundant food he could only dream of in another world are at his fingertips. Besides, when it comes to saving the world, there are apparently hunters who are doing that. As he thinks of ordering some takeout though, he sees that he went through all of his severance pay. The original owner of this body was an employee at a logistics company, but he lost his job when the company went bankrupt due to a damaging corrosion rift. Now that this severance pay has run out though, he should try getting a new job, but no matter how much he tries, there's no way to get a normal one. Because of the constantly appearing rifts, most companies are going out of business, so it's to be expected. He needs a job to survive in this society though, so what can he do? Suddenly though, he stumbles on an ad for hunter recruitment, and he can't deny that he already has experience in that field of work. At the Hunter Association, everyone is excited, as the hunter selection is just starting. One of the candidates isn't though. This selection test is just a formality, as these days, one can get selected just by showing a unique skill. These people around them are all the same, just a bunch of small fries with no future. As they wonder how long it will take to get famous, the candidate's friend bumps shoulders with someone. As he turns to see who it is though, he sees that he bumped into one of Soin's bodyguards. They thought they would not get to see her here, since she went to Chiorwan to subjugate a corrosion rift. But if she's here, the Janabi Guild must have sent her to scout for someone. But who could it be? Suin is handed a tablet with one Hunter Academy graduate, Han Sanga, on it. She has the awakened ability of electrokinesis, so she could probably charge batteries, right? One of her bodyguards notes that she's a hunter candidate, not a charger. They are saying she's quite skilled with her ability, so he's sure she will be useful. Suin doesn't know about that, and the other guard perks up, noting that hunting in corrosion rifts is real combat, even if one excels at the academy. There are many cases where they do not achieve great results in actual combat. Suin was about to say that, so she gives him a candy for explaining it well. Practice and real combat are different things. It's difficult for academy students who've only had safe training to endure the real thing. It will take her a long time to adapt. As Suin wonders if it's really okay for her to be gone an entire week because of something like this, the first sparring match is about to begin. She thinks that one way or the other, she's doing her job, so she wants to see some really interesting characters. The first candidate is quite interesting. It's a civilian who's not even from the academy, an unprecedented candidate, with guts enough to stand on this stage. It's Yu Chan-sok. He still isn't used to that new name, but he would do well to respond to it from now on. As his opponent climbs on stage 2, the announcer explains the rules. Personal weapons other than those provided are not allowed, and inflicting life-threatening injuries is strictly prohibited. Chan-seok thinks that since he decided to become a hunter, the first thing he has to do is save this world that is destined to fall. At the same time, he also wants to live and eat well, so he has to get good results in this place. As soon as the announcer lets the combat begin, his opponent charges in, thinking that this will be easy since he can't gather any mana. This is an easy win, a stepping stone for his career. He is the undefeated spearmaster of the Hunter Academy, so he will not lose. As he charges in with his spear though, Chan-seok simply puts his into the ground and vanishes from his sight. He appears behind his opponent, and notes that he's clumsy with the weapon he's supposed to be undefeated in, and punches him in the gut, before socking him in the chin with an uppercut. The bragging opponent falls to the ground just from these two, surprising Chan-seok. He used his hands because he thought he would hurt himself if he used the spear, but this guy is an actual beginner. This can't be the level of the average hunter though, right? Sion is surprised as he moved incredibly. She searches him up, and sees that his previous job was working at a logistics company, and the other bodyguard notes that he has no mana accumulated. To generate this much power, he'd need to accumulate mana over time, but if that's not the case, maybe he was just lucky. Suddenly, he is thrown another candy, basically telling him to shut up. Seon guesses that he's intentionally not accumulating mana, but how is that even possible? Chanseok feels uncomfortable about proving his abilities, so he should finish this decisively. He goes to the cowering opponent and raises his fist to the air, telling him that he won't hit him fatally. With that, he wins the fight, and a few other scouts begin to talk out loud around Seon, attracting her attention. While the others are busy doing that though, she needs to make a move and see his real skills. She gets up from her seat, as she wants to go to the association president. As Chanseok continues his fights, he finds out just how weak everyone is. Even for rookies who just became hunters, they are too weak. No matter how many matches he has, the guys coming out are all at the same level. What on earth are they teaching them at this hunter academy? Will he really not have a decent enemy? Eventually though, he is placed against the star candidate, Han Sang-ah. Will she be able to stop the march of this mysterious super rookie? Chanseok isn't mad about it, as she's the one who has the most mana out of everyone today. She scoffs, as he has nothing. He may have gotten this far by luck, but there will be no more flukes. Chanseok thinks that's a line a bit too generic for his tastes. Do they teach that at the academy too? Sang-ah guesses that he doesn't have a unique skill since he's been throwing punches all day, but that doesn't mean she will be going easy on him. Well, Chanseok has a unique skill. It's just that she'll probably die if he activates it. With a sharp breath, Sang-ah unleashes her power into her blade and slashes across the entire battlefield in a flash, but Chanseok just jumped up, shocking her. He finds her rather interesting. By running an electric current through the scabbard of her blade, she made a magnetic force, which she then used to make the strike very swift. He lands, noting that she definitely has the best skills out of everyone so far, but she missed one important thing. She did not think before she attacked. She was too focused on moving too quickly. Her mistake was that, in order to accelerate the drawn sword even faster, she laid down a magnetic rail in the empty air. No matter how fast and powerful it is, what kind of idiot would make the attack a simple path? Sang-ah grits her teeth and tells him not to get cocky, as she can beat him without using that technique. She strikes again, and Chanseok just dodges, calling her an idiot. He dodged her fastest attack, so there's no way he would get hit. She attacks again, but her technique lacks any real finesse, and she's overdoing it too. She's forcing herself to scrape together the mana. If she keeps going like this, her body will give out at one point. He eventually appears in front of her, and notes that they should stop here. If this hurts too much, she should raise her left punch. He starts by punching her in the gut, before unleashing a flurry of strikes against her, and finishing it with a punch from the other side of the arena, straight in her face. She falls to the ground, leaving the others speechless. Chanseok walks away as he stretches. She is certainly more skilled than the other guys, but to go down from that, she must have relied on mana and neglected physical training. Suddenly though, he hears her groan as she slowly raises her left hand up. Chanseok smiles, as she really did raise her hand, just like he told her to. Suddenly someone comes to the announcer and whispers something to him. He then tells everyone that the tournament schedule has been changed. The winner will take a short break, as in a moment, he and an active hunter will have a sparring match. By special permission of the association president, this match has been arranged on the spot, so they should all give enthusiastic support. Seon's guards think that it's over, and Chanseok can't see his opponent, as it's on a monitor that only the audience has access to. But judging by their reactions, it must be someone skilled. A hunter stepped up to test his abilities. It appears things are the same no matter what world he goes to. Suddenly, a large sword scrapes on the arena ground. She apologizes for showing up without warning, but it seems there was no other way to confirm. Soon introduces herself, and notes that this stage has been too small for him, so she wanted to have a spar. Of course, she would also understand if he refused. Chanseok knows about her from that kid. She's ranked 10th. Plus, the aura and composure that's coming from her. She's a tried and true hero. It will be tough to win with his current body, but he smiles and agrees. If he's honest, he hasn't used up much stamina at all. He thinks this is for the best anyway. His objective was to get the best results in the tournament, and she's perfect for that. He wanted to test just how strong this world's heroes are too. Everyone watches with bated breath as the duel begins, and Seon smashes her gigantic sword into Chanseok's spear. As he holds on for dear life, he wonders how a woman's body can have so much power and throws her blade off, making her retreat. Even so, Chanseok knows that he is at a disadvantage, as his speed has dropped considerably. It's not just that there are no openings, but this body just does not have the physical ability to exploit any at all. Seon speaks. She was hoping for a good warm-up for the first time in a while, but he seems to be tired already. Even so, he did well up until now. She thought he'd last about 5, maybe 3 minutes. She did not expect him to hold out for 30 minutes straight like this. She dashes into him again. She knows that she will take it easy on him from now on. Chanseok sucks. He practically has no mana stored up, and there is not much mana in the atmosphere around here either. He did not want to use his ability, but now he has to. With that, he activates Paradox Flame, and Seon notices something strange. So she smashes her blade into the ground before Chanseok, making him dodge. Seon is surprised. She definitely swung with enough force that he wouldn't have been able to dodge, but now that she looks at him, she sees that he's actually flaming. Chanseok thinks about his ability, Paradox Flame. It's his specialty that he used constantly before returning to Earth. He trusts this power the most out of any. As one could tell from his unscathed clothes, unlike a normal flame, the black flame cannot burn matter. Instead, each of these flames burns using abstract concepts he has designed as fuel. With his current output, he can't burn concepts without ignition points like the self, memory, or reason. However, one thing he can bear right now is fatigue, allowing him to charge into Seon again. His strike is just as powerful as the first. Seeing him push so hard again, Seon doubles her efforts, but she wonders what this is. The concentration of mana in the air keeps fluctuating between high and low. The arena settings haven't changed, so could it be that Chanseok is doing something? Just as fire releases heat when it burns matter, so does the Paradox Flame also release mana as it burns the concepts. Chanseok uses mana to ignite the Paradox Flame, and the Paradox Flame, in turn, burns his fatigue to generate more mana. It is basically an endless cycle. In other words, his specialty. Seon raises her sword into the air and smashes it on the ground, creating a dust wall between the two of them, but she wonders how long he will keep this up. Chanseok laughs inside of his mind, thinking that someone who clings to another and won't let go is basically a war of attrition, which he is an expert at. He notes that he can still keep going, and by any chance does she like guys who don't know how to quit. Seon is visibly frustrated now and knows that she absolutely despises them. When one sets a tree on fire, only ashes are left behind. Ashes that have already been burned cannot be burned again. Likewise, Paradox Flame also leaves behind a residue. If everything is burned away until only ash remains, that will be when the Paradox Flame disappears. With this in mind, Seon beats Chanseok's ass for 4 hours and 17 minutes. Now he is on the ground, reeling from the pain, and she asks if he really wants to go for more. Chanseok begs to be spared, and the announcer notes that with his forfeit, the battle is over. Seon pulls out a lollipop from her jacket, and her guards visibly react as this is no mere candy. She throws it to Chanseok for his hard work, and she put her business card along with it. He should read it carefully. Even if they will talk about this later, he should still give her a call. As the hunter selection trials come to a close and Chanseok wonders what Janabi is, everyone makes their way out of the arena, most having already left, considering their match lasted for 4 entire hours. Chanseok eats his reward lollipop in the hall, and looks at his smartphone as he now has the hunter license on it. He is impressed by the technology. Back in his day, they'd probably just give him a piece of paper or something. He has access to things like hunter communities or used equipment markets, that kind of stuff. As he continues to peruse the options, someone suddenly grabs his attention. A large, burly man who knows that he looks much better in person than on camera. Chanseok is impressed by how tall he is, must be over 2 meters at least, and asks who he is. The man gives him his business card. He is Hunter Hyon of Taebaek. To be precise, he's Hyunseong Hyon, a partner hunter from the Taebaek Guild. He will keep it short, as he doesn't want to disturb him much. He wants him to come to Taebaek, specifically to his team. If he gains enough experience under him, he will most definitely shine brighter than he did on that lousy arena. Chanseok doesn't see any deceit in his eyes. However, he has a prior engagement, considering what Seon told him, so he can't give him a firm answer just yet. He pockets the card, and knows that he will think about it later before making a decision. Hyon laughs, as he never expected him to answer right here and now. However, he had better think this through real properly, as he does not like tardy people. With that, he leaves, and Chanseok makes up his mind to definitely skip Taebaek. After a while, he calls Seon and asks where he should come to meet. Seon explains that she is at the hut on the 2nd floor of the Hunter Association building. She will send him the coordinates. Chanseok wonders what that is, but when he gets to that location, he sees that it's a cafe with a rather unusual name. A waiter welcomes him inside and Seon waves him in, telling him to have a seat. As he does sit down, Seon asks if something happened, and he explains that one person tried to recruit him to a guild, a really big guy, Hyon, of Taebaek. Seon laughs. Since Hyon himself showed interest in him, the other guilds won't even dare to make an offer. Chanseok wonders if that's the same for Janabi, and Seon knows that she has no real intention of recruiting him. She wants him to work without being affiliated with a guild, like a freelancer. Chanseok didn't even know that was an option, and Seon continues noting that Hyon was probably going to offer him a junior position. Chanseok wonders what this junior position is, and what about the freelancing stuff? Seon completely forgot that he was not from the Hunter Academy, so she explains that the ranks for hunters belonging to a guild are usually divided into 3: junior, seniors, and partners. Juniors and seniors belong to teams led by partner hunters. He can think of them as salaried employees. Partners have huge shares in the guild instead of salary, and they share the net profits the guild earns. Chanseok notes that it sounds exactly like a law firm, and Seon notes that it's similar. She's heard that the hunter who first established the guild used law firms as a model. He doesn't necessarily have to belong to a guild and go through the junior and senior ranks to become a partner hunter, though. Chanseok understands. If he becomes famous and achieves respectable results, they will automatically come looking for him, right? Seon notes that it's exactly like that, and gives him another candy, making him kinda confused as to why she's giving him so many. Even so, he doesn't refuse, and notes that, since he has no connections and no experience, it will be hard for him to get any proper requests. Seon says that she will help him with that, free of charge this time. Chanseok, though, is kind of suspicious, as he really doesn't get why she's doing this for him. Seon explains that in the future, when he has built up enough of a reputation to be recruited by a guild, she just wants him to think that there was a place called Janabi at one point. Basically, she is putting him in debt. She pulls out a folder out of the many she carries with her and slaps it on the table, noting that it's his choice whether he wants to take this or not. Chanseok asks what this is as he rips through it, and she explains that it's a request from Inshin City. There's a place called Gyeongdong Island, where a corrosion zone formed 2 years ago after a failed attempt to eliminate the corrosion rift. Chanseok asks if he will just go there and get rid of the corrosion rift, but Seon denies that idea. He will be patrolling the island to see if any additional corrosion rifts have appeared and get rid of them subsequently. Chanseok reads the terms. He starts in 1 month. He gets 5 million won up front with an additional 15 upon success. He throws the papers on the table, noting that, considering this is a life-threatening job he's doing, the pay is not exactly that great. Seon knows it feels unfair, but he should use that frustration to get strong and become famous. Money will flow in his pockets even when they're full at that point. So what is his answer? After Seon leaves in her car, she gets on a call with someone who asks how Chanseok is. She notes that he is just a civilian, and he cleared a weapons mandatory tournament with his bare hands. So, not bad. One of the guards notes that not bad doesn't really make it justice, and Seon explains that he lasted 4 whole hours against her. The man on the phone asks if it's not because she limited her power, but Seon explains that she's a veteran hunter with 10 years of experience. All of that experience has been built up on surviving hellish places, so normally she should have been able to toy with him. But 4 hours? Even if she were reborn, she doubts she'd ever see a beast like him. The boss wonders, though, no matter how highly she rates him, didn't the Gyeongdong Island mission specifically request hunters with prior experience? His skills may be adequate, but will he be able to hold his weight when teaming up with veteran hunters? Seon tells him not to worry, as she's paired him with some reliable people. The boss understands. She's the brain of operations at Janabi, so he will trust her. But that kid, what does she think he will become if he reaches her level? Seon notes that he might not like to hear this, but if he actually reaches her level, he will probably be able to take him down too. 1 month ago, Chanseok ordered something quite large, which the delivery man naturally complained about because they complain about everything. After he got his package inside, Chanseok himself noted that it was quite long and opened it, revealing it to be a spear. Additionally, he also got an elixir. An elixir is a potion that hunters use in emergency situations. It is made of condensed mana, which is really helpful when mana is urgently needed. The typical way of handling mana is similar to drinking water from a water purifier. One can control the mana in the atmosphere, store it in the body, and use it when needed. This elixir helps shorten that process, although he uses mana in a different way than the others. He skips the storage process and directly absorbs and uses mana from the atmosphere. The advantage is that there is no limit, since he uses the mana from the air. Moreover, in the process of taking in and letting it out, the mana channels that the mana passes through naturally strengthen, allowing for more mana to be used. The only downside to this is that until the mana channels grow, the amount he can handle is quite small, which makes it difficult to produce a strong output in such a short time as he did in the past. Since he does not have time to wait right now, it's best for him to store some of it before using it. If he trained with this elixir for about a month, he should be able to grow just as much as he needs for his next task. After that training, he goes to Gyeongdong Island, where he lines up with the other hunters, confirms his identity using his phone, and gets in line as he waits for his team, which is Team 8. As he waits, a familiar voice calls for him. It's Sanga. Chanseok notes that her hair seems to have settled down a little, and she explains that this is actually her normal hair. It was just static electricity back then. That's why it was raised up. Anyway, we're in the same squad, which is good. They should work together during this mission. Chanseok asks why he should do any of that, and she explains that because he's stronger than her, so she wants to learn from watching him. Chanseok plays it off, noting that his shoulders are about to fall from the sheer awe, and Sanga takes it literally, asking if his shoulders dislocate often. If that is the case, then it's really dangerous for him to use a spear. Chanseok himself is trying not to laugh as this kid really has no sense of humor. Before they can talk more, their handler interrupts them. Since everyone from Squad 8 has gathered, they will now be beginning the mission brief. They also have hunters here who are participating for the first time, so he will explain the terminologies as well, just for them. Corrosion rifts are classified as Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, and unclassified. The closer the rift is to Class 1, the more dangerous it is. Additionally, the first corrosion rift to appear in a specific area is given the additional name Alpha. Currently, the Alpha Rift on Gyeongdo Island is in the church in the northern part. Even though it's still unclassified, considering the characteristics of the corrosion rifts getting stronger with time, they ask them kindly to not approach it. Their mission is to patrol the northern parts to identify and eliminate any additional corrosion cells that may have appeared. A few of the seasoned hunters are surprised that they are getting an elimination mission with rookies on their squad, and the handler notes that they've arrived. As they continue talking, Chanseok is a little confused, as they are acting pretty dramatic. They are left on the dock on the island, and the handler rips a whistle before he says that the situation on the island is being briefed to the offshore, the control room to be exact. If they need help, they should contact them. As the others begin to make plans, Chanseok speaks, noting that they will need to scout the 2 areas over the course of an entire week. They should set up a base at Hwangye-sa Temple and operate from there. One of the seasoned hunters asks if he is one of the rookies, as he has not seen him before, and more importantly, why would they even go to Hwangye-sa Temple? Chanseok explains that from that temple they can see Nairi, and from the peak of Hwangye-san, one can even see Gyeongdong-myeon directly. The old temple building is still there, so they can also use it for lodging. Is that not obvious? One of the hunters perks up, noting that there are plenty of places to sleep nearby. The other, with glasses, asks what if they get surrounded after needlessly climbing an entire mountain. Chanseok wonders how they would even get surrounded, since they're not fighting thousands of enemies. Even so, they reject his plan because he is an experienced hunter, making Chanseok think that idiots transcend stupidity exist on all planes of existence. With that, and the recommendation to climb the mountain for himself, Chanseok splits from the group, along with Sanga, and another guy, who seems to have slightly higher mana than Sanga. He asks if his name is Kim Minjae, and also asks why he followed them. Minjae explains that since this is their first actual mission, he was worried about letting two rookies act on their own. Chanseok thanks him for his consideration, and thinks that there is at least one decent person in this place. Suddenly he feels something, and stops dead in his tracks, making the others stop too. They want to ask what's going on, but he tells them to be quiet, and have a peek over to the other side. Minjae does so, and sees a bunch of goblin-like monsters standing at the edge of the mountain. Minjae immediately suggests that they take a detour, as there are too many, at least 50 by his count. Chanseok tells him to calm down and asks what his unique skill is. Minjae is confused. Is he really thinking of fighting those things? Chanseok feels it's only natural for a hunter to fight corrupted creatures, so he will ask again what is his unique skill. Minjae says it's flame, and the most confident skill of his is fireball. Chanseok thinks that is great, and explains that on his signal, he will be the one to attack first. Minjae is naturally shocked, but Sanga just asks what she should do, making him even more confused. He thinks it's far too reckless to face over 50 of them with just 3 hunters. Besides, is this not their first mission? They should still radio over to the other hunters while they still have time. Chanseok explains that they will not be arriving on time. Unlike them, who departed directly from Hwagyesa Temple, the other hunters are currently searching along the coast. It is too reckless to radio them, because there is no guarantee the hunters who hear the radio will even arrive. If these things scatter while they wait, they could become a threat to the other hunters too. Minjae thinks that he is right. Even if there happens to be a hunter nearby, they might not come right away because of the earlier conflict they had. Chanseok notes that all this means they have to deal with them in this relatively disadvantageous situation. What they need is to land a surprise attack. Since there is no time, he will explain immediately. First, Minjae will attack the center with a fireball, which will block the sides. As he continues explaining, Minjae is amazed by this detailed strategy. He's basically anticipating every possibility, and for some reason, he's getting the feeling that he's experienced this kind of thing 1,000 times. Just who is this guy? Just as planned, Minjae dashes away from their position and unleashes a fireball right in the middle, taking out a few of the goblins and creating chaos in their ranks. He tells Chanseok that he will need a moment before he can cast his next fireball, but he tells him to not worry about it and shoot when ready. With that, Chanseok himself dashes in, prioritizing efficiency. In team compositions, diving rolls are essential, so until the next fireball is ready, he will take care of the other ones, so that they cannot get close to Minjae. Naturally, some will sleep by him, like the goblin that went through his legs, but that's why the diving roll is so important. Sanga immediately takes care of the few stragglers that are coming for Minjae, using her electric powers to take care of them from a distance. With all that stalling, another fireball is ready, and Chanseok tells him to shoot as he will get out of the way. Minjae does so, and they blast another group of goblins, which Chanseok takes as an opportunity to press the advance and win. After a while, the fighting is over, and Chanseok notes that they all did well, but wonders why Minjae is pointing a gun at his head. Minjae tells him to please step aside as he needs to mark the bodies, making Chanseok wonder why he even pulled it out like that. Chanseok watches, and asks if he's implanting a microchip, which Minjae confirms. Once the mission is over and the area is secured, the junk dealer he has a contract with will come and collect all of them. Chanseok asks what the junk dealer is, and Minjae explains that it's hard for them to recover the byproducts from the corpses themselves. They are bulky and heavy, as he may already know. If one tags them with chips like this, the junk dealers will come by after the mission is over and collect anything that looks valuable. They price the items, sell them, and split the profits with the hunter. They take their commission based on the contract, and the rest goes back to the hunter who implanted the chip. Chanseok asks if they're really that trustworthy, and Minjae knows that this is why it's important to find a good junk dealer and to sign an actual contract. Anyway, he was really amazing to think that 3 of them could handle so many monsters at once. He never would have imagined that would be possible. Suddenly, something else comes out of the woodwork and smashes its fist into the ground where Minjae stood, Chanseok only having seconds to rescue him. After throwing him off, Minjae asks what that thing is, and Chanseok doesn't know, but it appears to be some kind of mid-boss. Chanseok damns it all, and wonders if this is the leader of those things from before. On top of all this, the amount of mana it's giving off is on an entirely different level than that of those goblins. He tells them to tell the others to back off and not to interfere, thinking that if it's after the 3 of them, these 2 will never be able to escape. They both deny this plan, as they can buy time with pincer attacks, allowing them all to fall back, but Chanseok suddenly screams at them to stop talking and get back. Do they want to go home in body bags? This makes them both freeze, and Chanseok thinks he should handle this alone. He can use Paradox Flame without worrying about friendly fire, and finish this as quickly as possible. He taunts the mighty beast, asking if it's just going to stand there. As the battle rages on, Minjae wonders if they should be helping him, as he looks like he is in trouble, but Sanga knows that there is no need. It might look like he is getting pushed back, but he has not been hit a single time since the beginning. It is not just that either. Those are attacks that she would have struggled just to dodge, but he is dodging and attacking at the same time. What's more, is that when his spear lands a strike, black flames appear each time. Just what is that? As the flame output increases, the monster gets much slower. At first, it looked like Chan-seok was struggling, but now he is basically throwing with the beast. Is he really just a rookie like her, or something more? As the beast smashes its fist into the ground again, Chan-seok gets out of the way and suddenly throws his spear into the air, surprising the others. The beast charges in, thinking that he is vulnerable, but just as it gets close enough to him, it stops dead in its tracks, and the spear smashes into its neck. Chan-seok is surprised it was still able to move after he's burned all of its strength. It seems he will have to finish this thing off for good. As he does that, the others just watch in amazement. Min-jae completely bewildered. It definitely seemed like he was getting pushed back just a moment ago, but now the monster is down. Just what in the world happened? Chan-seok calls for him and asks if it's normal for a monster of this caliber to appear on this island. Min-jae was wondering the same thing. For an entity that is not even the core of the corrosion rift, it could be possible if this were a corrosion zone with a rift of at least grade 3. Corrosion rifts are divided into 4 tiers. During the pre-mission briefing, he definitely heard that the Alpha Corrosion Rift on Gyeongdong Island was unclassified. The handler said so. In that case, it seems the Alpha Corrosion Rift on this island has gone up to grade 3. Sang-ah mentions the briefing, but Chan-seok tells her to think about it rationally. If it's not grade 3, there's no other way to explain this situation. Min-jae tells him to wait. The difference between an unclassified rift and a grade 3 is like night and day. If that is true, then the number of hunters who can make it back alive will be close to none at this point. He notes that they have to go and save the other hunters. With his skills, even a grade 3 shouldn't be a problem. Chan-seok rejects this idea, as how is he supposed to save every hunter wandering this island by himself? He has limits too. If he can't do something, he won't. Their mission is not to save hunters in peril. It is to identify and eliminate any new corrosion rifts that have appeared. Additionally, when one is doing this kind of work, they can't expect everyone to make it out alive. Sang-ah asks what if he was in that situation? Would he not feel wronged or resentful? Chan-seok asks if that's any reason to feel compassion and go to save them besides their need to prove themselves and be heroes. He's not saying this because he does not understand the emotions that people feel. He is talking about facts here, the outcome. In this world, deaths are unavoidable. When one faces a death like that, no matter how one may think, or how they will feel about the situation, they will die. So they should not be swayed by such a desperate situation. They will not survive for long with that kind of mindset. After making their way to the temple, Chan-seok checks it out, and comes outside to tell the others that the building is fine, and there are no traces of beasts around. He asks Min-jae if they can't see anything, and he says that they saw nothing special. The good thing is, thanks to the lights, they can at least see the other hunters' locations. Chan-seok thinks that using lights is dangerous since it reveals one's location. If it were just those small fry goblins, it wouldn't matter if their position was revealed. But if another of those things shows up, he might not be able to protect these two. He sends a warning message to everyone, noting that, considering the level of the monster they just encountered, there's a possibility that the Alpha Corrosion Rift has become a Gate 3. Using lights recklessly could put all of them in danger. As they sit down, Min-jae explains a bit about corruption rifts. If one destroys the core of a corruption rift, all the corrupted beings will disappear. Without the energy radiating from the corruption rift, the corrupted zone will simply vanish. Chan-seok thinks that this is rather simple then. All he has to do is destroy the corrosion and rift and be done with it. As the other two fall asleep, Chan-seok puts a device next to them, one that would sound an alarm if a monster approaches, so he can at least go around and explore without worrying that they might die. As he dashes through the forest, he thinks that it's good he confirmed the location of the Alpha Corrosion Rift during the briefing. At this rate, things should go rather smoothly, and he might be done by dawn. Suddenly though, he stops in his tracks as he felt the presence of a beast. He can't believe he jinxed it and lights up the area using his ability, revealing the beast is right above him, salivating as it stares at him. In the Hunter Association Situation Room, reports fly out as apparently they've lost the signal of some of the hunters from Team 5, presumed dead. There are also reports that the monsters are moving in an organized fashion, and they have confirmed one casualty from Team 3 at least. The chief wonders what the hell could be going on in a mere unclassified corruption rift. He thinks that this is an emergency. They're going to need reinforcements. So he asks the others to activate the emergency contact network and send out an urgent request for cooperation to all hunters in the vicinity. The chief is also informed that someone is approaching the Alpha Corrosion Rift, so he tells one of his men to contact that bastard and tell him to stop at once. Who the hell is it? One of the men knows that the individual currently heading towards the Alpha Corrosion is Chan-seok from Team 8, the first person to identify the Corrosion Rift upgrade and report it back to everyone. The chief tells his men to contact his terminal immediately and confirm that he is alive and thinks that a Corrosion Rift upgrade is an unprecedented event. He is the first to grasp the situation and head to the Alpha Corrosion Rift. Just as they establish a connection, they hear him curse and scream out as he runs away, as this thing is way faster than he thought. They said it was an unclassified and he's barely dodging because it's him. Did they really not bother to investigate properly just because they are not the ones doing the fighting? As he continues to parade them again and again, they all wonder if they should just mute him, but alas, at least they've confirmed he's alive. Chan-seok knows that his paradox flame in its current state is not strong enough to kill this thing. Against a strong entity, He has to whittle down its health with Paradox Flame and then finish it off with the spear, but this thing just won't go down, no matter how much pressure he puts on it. He thinks that he drew too much of the island's mana for the giant bat during the day. Its power is so much weaker than usual. Since he cannot leave the island, he needs to find a place on the island where he can draw mana and fight this thing one-on-one. As he continues running, he suddenly spots the rift and jumps in just as the beast is about to chomp on him. He looks up at the thing, noting that it had better keep up, as there's something he really wanted to check. It's confirmed that the GPS signal has been lost, so Hunter Chanseok has officially entered the Alpha Corrosion Rift. As Chanseok looks around, he knows that it's far cleaner than he originally anticipated. He heard, unclassified and grade 3 corrosion rifts were not that big. How big are grades 1 and 2 if this is not big? Hearing the beast approach him, he says that since he's done with the Corruption Rift tour, they should put an end to their relationship, as he is not the clingy type. The beast screams out, and Chanseok thinks that one of the biggest problems with his ability is that it spreads to every living being except him, even if it's an ally. Therefore, if it reaches what it can no longer control, it has the drawback of becoming unusable. As he puts the flame on his spear, he charges in on the beast, making it burst into flame and scream out in pain. If he fights alone, his ability is as good as having no drawback at all. Well, the important part starts now. He begins to channel mana into his body, absorbing it to the point where it spreads to every corner of his body, widening his mana pathways and making them stronger. As he continues doing so, he lets out a long breath, as this feels much more efficient than he previously thought. The beast, knowing that it will be defeated if it fights alone, suddenly lets out a deafening roar, creating a ripple in the fake sky of the rift. Chanseok understands what it is doing. It's calling for reinforcements. As 3 bat-like beasts charge him, he thinks that this is not bad, but trying to overwhelm him with numbers is meaningless at this point. After he is done with them, the ground around him continues to burn, and he thinks that he is several times stronger than before. It is still not enough to compare to his time in the other world, but at least it is more efficient. As he wonders where the core of the corrosion rift is, a voice suddenly tells him to stop, and a humanoid figure appears, blade in hand, ready to strike him down from behind. Chanseok notices just in time, and pushes the humanoid figure away, making it strike the ground. It appears he was waiting for his Paradox Flame to die out, wasn't he? He can even talk, so he must be pretty smart, or the core of this corrosion rift is on an entirely different level than he expected. As the beast exclaims that he will die, Chanseok thinks that at his level, he should be able to manage at least a 4-hit combo. He charges in, spear in hand, and crashes it into the humanoid beast, making him block. However, that is exactly what he wanted, as his sword begins to crack, and Chanseok unleashes a dual orbit spear into him, completely bypassing his move. The dual orbit spear creates a blue trajectory that follows the path of his attack. That trajectory perfectly mimics the first strike, repeating it 4 other times. If he attacks together with that trajectory, it's just a simple technique that repeats 4 executive strikes. What if the blue trajectory attacks just a bit late? It completes a tricky 2-part spear round that is increasingly more difficult to dodge. Faced with a pincer attack unfolding with a time lag, the opponent is bound to make a mistake at one point. Just as expected, the humanoid beast jumps in the air, and Chanseok catches him with his pants down, unleashing a torrent of strikes on him. He knows that this is over and charges in again. He strikes, actually going through the humanoid beast and creating large holes until there is nothing left. As the beast dissipates into the air, Chanseok is given something he is rather confused by. Things become much more hectic in the Situation Room. Reports are given out, but they are losing signal with teams again and again. The chief can only stare and watch as this happens. He wonders if this is it. Unless a miracle happens, does he really have no choice but to stand here and watch all of the hunters he sent here to die gruesome deaths? Suddenly, one of his men reports that a message arrived from Chanseok, who entered the Alpha Corrosion Rift. He puts it on the main screen, the message revealing that the Alpha Corrosion Rift has been taken care of. Since the Corrosion Rift signal has vanished, it means that he actually did it. They've also confirmed the annihilation of all corrosion creatures that encountered the hunters. The chief thinks that this is truly a miracle, but how is that even possible? Chanseok sits down, looking at the sky and feeling the nice air of the mountain in his lungs. It's the least he can take, considering what he's achieved. The other two continue their fight too. Sanga is taking a dozen of them out at once, but it's pretty clear that she's reaching her limit. There are also too many of them, and with Chanseok gone too, Minjae wonders if they will make it out of here alive. Sanga knows that he is at his limit, and she doesn't know how much longer she can fight either. Her leg is bleeding hard and not responding like it used to anymore. As another wave comes, she charges in, ready to take them down again, but suddenly her leg gives out, leaving her vulnerable to the incoming horde. Minjae would like to do something, but he is stuck with his own side too, and he can only watch as the beasts close in on Sanga. Suddenly though, as she prepares for the worst, the goblins begin to dissipate into the air, like they were never even there. A few hours later, at the Island Hunter Assembly Point, Chanseok comes out of the mountain too, noting that there are a lot of injured people. It means that the corrosion creatures went on a rampage while he was gone. The other seasoned hunters who berated him before look at him in awe as they all saw the message. He was the one who took down that grade 3 corrosion rift all by himself. Minjae waves him in and explains that he was quite shocked when he got his text. How could he even think of taking on that corruption rift all alone? Chanseok crouches down and knows that to protect the hunters, it wasn't his body that moved, but Yeseok's heart. He's obviously lying here. He just wants to act like a good guy, as maybe he will get more money. As he talks with them, someone comes to greet him. Someone from the Korean Operation Corporation. His name is Jong Tai, the third branch manager for the northern province. Chanseok guesses that he was the one who told him to come here, and Jong Tai confirmed as such, noting that the mayor would like to see him. That day, as it begins to pour, Chanseok wonders if ordering people around is a common trait among these old people. Come to think of it, the contract didn't even mention how much of a bonus he would receive for clearing a grade 3 corrosion, did it? Since he is here, he might as well negotiate on that price. As he shields himself from the rain using an umbrella, another man comes out of the building. His name is Lee, the communications and liaison officer. As they walk to the house, he explains that the mayor has been sincerely looking forward to this meeting. When they received the report from the island earlier this morning, it shocked all of them. After seeing it, the mayor canceled his entire morning just to meet him. Chanseok knows that he could have just met him whenever. It's not like he did anything that impressive anyway. Lee thinks that's not true. A rookie hunter destroying a grade 3 corruption rift single-handedly has not happened since the time when the first hunter, the Great Pioneer, was still active. Chanseok guesses it was a rather impressive thing, though he did not expect there to be a precedent before him. That guy must have been a real monster too. Eventually, they arrive at the mayor's office, and he introduces himself as Park John, the mayor of Incheon. He apologizes for calling him out on such awful weather, but he should have a seat so we can talk. He also orders Lee to get them some coffee, and after that is delivered, Park sits down with Chanseok, noting that he has done a great service to the entire country. As the mayor of Incheon, the island was truly a pain to deal with, even though it was their responsibility. Their budget was limited, so hiring an expensive guild was a rather difficult thing. Chanseok knows that he must be really glad that it's been taken care of this time, especially since he resolved it at a relatively low cost. Park confirms the such, but he has heard that this was his first commission, and Chanseok confirms that this is true. Park suddenly smashes his palms into the table, not expecting such an incredible person's first steps to be in Incheon. As the mayor, he is extremely proud. The safest country in the world is the Republic of Korea, and here in Incheon, they are one of Korea's key regions. That is because of the countless goods that come and go thanks to the wonderful infrastructure of the airport. On top of that, thanks to the Free Economic Zone project, international cities like Songdo and Seongna have so many foreigners who want to invest that it's difficult to even choose among them. The massive funds coming in through Incheon International City are amazing, and the goods transported through the airport are also very much needed. He will ensure that the path he walks as a hunter will be a smooth one. He will definitely provide assistance, if needed. Chanseok looks at the mayor and remembers what Jong Tai asked on the way here for his purpose of becoming a hunter. Chanseok notes that if there's a clogged toilet spewing filth anywhere, everywhere, someone has to dive in and unclog it, no matter how dirty it may be. Jong Tai understood. He explained that he will become famous, as skilled hunters are extremely popular. There will be companies asking him to shoot commercials, and he may even get scouted for TV shows. Chanseok scoffed as it seemed he was rather worried about the fame changing him, and Jong Tai confirmed as such. There are many cases of promising hunters who become intoxicated with popularity and money and lose their sight of duty. In a way, that's only natural, as just across the truce line, the dangerous corrosion zone is full of menacing monsters. The only safe place is Korea. It's called the last sanctuary left on Earth after all, but even that is being swayed by the power of sheer capital and human greed. What he has accomplished this time is truly incredible. Many people in difficult situations will be watching him with interest. He just hopes that he will continue to be a symbol of hope and not fall like the others. After hearing that, he was curious how far they would really go. This bastard mayor is not even trying to hide it. He's just laying it out on the table bare. Unfortunately for him, he is not the type to be swayed by something like this. Having lived for so long already, he suffered through countless hardships. He notes that if he is going to provide him with so much support, he is sure that he wants something in return, doesn't he? For example, to help a mayor with a falling approval rating get re-elected, right? Park clears his throat and says that he is rather well informed. He can find out all sorts of things on the internet these days after all. Chanseok notes that his term is scheduled to end early next year. Looking at how things are going, he read at the general consensus that his re-election will be rather difficult. He is rather impressed by how direct he is, and explains that actually, in the process of his participation in this commission, didn't he need approval from Incheon City Hall too? Chanseok thinks that, unlike what the announcement said, it's true that for a rookie like him to participate, he needed the mayor's permission. If he frames it well, he'd be a talent discovered by Incheon. He could even go around and brag that he is a talent discovered by him, and him alone. Well, after roping him into something like this, it looks like he just wants to ride on his coattails for the rest of his days. Park explains that, thanks to the infrastructure he mentioned earlier, as the mayor of Incheon, he maintains relationships with many overseas and domestic companies. For instance, the model for this instant coffee mix brand. Their contract is ending soon, so they could replace their face with his if that's what he wanted. Chanseok smashes his finished cup of coffee down on the table and notes that it seems he's taking him for someone rather cheap. Looking at the news these days, it feels like the world could use someone who can change this dreary atmosphere. A new face is needed, which means that if a talent like him continues to work as a hunter, everything that he said he could give me is his share to take in the first place. Park tries to sell his way around it, noting that he can provide him with safe and high-paying commissions. He can select them and offer them to him. Chanseok isn't interested. He just wants him to give his congratulations to the coffee mix model, since she will be able to extend her contract after all. under a dark bridge, an inside man reports to a dark figure, claiming that the island test was a failure. The inside man apologizes, but there is good news too, and he shows him a clip from the Hunter Association certification exam video showing Chan-seok and his abilities. The mysterious man smiles as he is quite excellent, and he will certainly have use of him in the future. The first of every month is looked forward to by the entire nation because that's when the Hunter rankings are given out. Everyone wants to see who is in the top 10. Normal people, children, even punks. Usually there isn't much change in the rankings, so it's merely entertainment for the public. However, this time, it was different. Even the association president is informed about the rankings, and Chan-seok doesn't really care, even if they make such a flashy show of it. However, what matters is the top 10. In the 10th place is Seyoon. In the 5th place is Kim Chae-hyun. In the 3rd place is Choi Yo-reum. The 2nd place is Jang Tae-sok. Naturally, in the 1st place, before Chan-seok can see it, a man comes into his waiting room, noting that he has waited for a long time, but he can come out now. Also, he congratulates him on entering the rankings in record time. A 5-year veteran hunter soloing a grade 3 corruption rift is such a common occurrence that it would be practically ignored by the entire hunter community, and even outside of that. However, if it's the first mission of a newly debuted hunter, that is an entirely different story. That is why Chan-seok is now holding a press conference, and people are asking him tons of things like what his occupation was before becoming a hunter, or if he really didn't receive any help, and if the escalation of the corruption rift was expected. He just feels like a kid on one of those child prodigy TV shows. Since he has a schedule to maintain now, he decides to take one last question. With this in mind, one of the reporters immediately perks up, noting that he believes many people are interested in his future steps as a hunter regarding this. Could he share his mindset as a hunter? Or perhaps a word of determination? Chan-seok just tells them to forget cliches like, "I'll do my best," or stuff like that. He will just show it to them with the results. Later, Chan-seok boards a plane and is taken to where Gonsal prison used to be, which is now just a large empty crater. It is a horrific sight, isn't it? It's like this everywhere abroad, actually. After the corrosion rifts appeared, most countries lost their administrative capabilities. The chairman speaks to him and explains that South Korea alone became a powerhouse that not only successfully defended the entire nation, but also made technological investments throughout it. The helicopter they are riding in is also a part of that technological prowess. Chan-seok asks if the countries that couldn't cope with the corrosion rifts all ended up like this, and the chairman confirms as such. Many capitals disappeared after the corrosion rifts appeared. Well, they should take a closer look. After they land, the chairman explains that the Great 80s are the 8 most dangerous corrosion rifts in the world. One of them, Gonsal Prison, is right here. Gonsal Prison, which suddenly formed 13 years ago, spread from the city center in a massive circle without any signs or warnings. Some could barely survive the encounter, but in a space that had already turned into a corrosion zone, they were all swept up without even getting a chance of escape. In just 2 days, an entire city disappeared without even making as much of a sound. Despite the appearance of corrosion rifts, the influence of each nation has not changed that much, but internally, the power of central governments has naturally weakened. Chan-seok finds it nice to learn information he did not possess previously. But what does this have to do with calling him all the way here? The chairman explains that a few days ago, Yoon Seon-hyun from Taebaek came to find him. It seems he was rather annoyed that he did not join Taebaek. Chan-seok guesses he is that big guy from back then who threatened him, but the chairman doesn't stop there. He also explains that he abruptly asked about his whereabouts. Of course, since it's professional information, he did not share it, as the ideology of the Taebaek Guild is survival of the fittest. They might try to subdue him by force. It's the law of the jungle for them after all. Chan-seok thinks that's really troublesome right now. He'd be beaten by that guy with his brutal strength. The chairman continues, noting that, looking at his actions rather than belonging to a guild, it seems that he wishes to do things on his own, right? If he does want to block Taebaek's approach, it's best to raise his own standing. For example, by completing major missions proposed by the association president, huh? Chan-seok explains that there is a motive for him coming here, and says that he wouldn't just give this to him for free. Is there something he wants? The chairman notes that he wants nothing for now. He just wants him to remember the clear fact that he gave him help. Chan-seok thinks that shouldn't be that difficult. It's not a bad deal for him since it's a mission from the president. It will be a good foundation to build his reputation on. Chan-seok asks where they are going exactly, and the chairman explains that he will be escorting a ship from Busan to Nanning. Because of the corrosion zone, transporting daily necessities is not easy. Chan-seok takes a bit to read the file, and sees that what is transported are Rolexes, high-end porcelain, ginseng liquor, and a Hyundai luxury sedan. He wonders if these are the definitions of daily necessities. Have people become that rich in the past 20 years? The chairman ignores that comment for now, and explains that for some people, they are necessities. He thought he, of all people, would understand. Chan-seok doesn't really get it, or care. Why are such things needed in a country where the central government is shattered like this? The chairman explains that, although many countries are collapsing due to the corrosion rifts, international politics are not meaningless in the slightest. Chan-seok understands it's necessary for maintaining certain relationships, basically greasing the wheels a little, huh? If that is the case, though, he will have to decline. The chairman tells him to wait a moment, as the government considers this matter a very important one. Chan-seok doesn't care about their opinion. It will not change his mind. It would be foolish for an individual to get swept up in the center of politics like this. The chairman apologizes if he sounds a bit rude for saying this, but he is just a rookie who has just debuted. Suddenly, Chansuk opens the helicopter door and throws the files away into the sea. He thanks the chairman for the ride, but from now on, he will swim to Seoul on his own from here. He jumps out and lands in the sea, shocking the chairman. But really, kids these days are uncontrollable. As the sun sets at Incheon port, a worker is enjoying his coffee while looking at the sea, but suddenly he sees a bunch of bubbles coming out, and Chanseok rising from the water. Chanseok begins talking to himself, muttering that he nearly died, and that they had the nerve to threaten him like that. He then stops himself as he sees the worker, but the worker just nods, noting that he doesn't know what happened, but he must have been through a lot. Chanseok thanks him for his understanding, and gets out of the water. What he needs to do now is build his strength. He will prioritize solving the trickiest, most difficult requests, and become a big shot, so he won't be swayed by anyone else. He looks around on his phone and finds an interesting one, which he immediately accepts, as the abduction victims on Tsutsushima Island need the help of hunters, and it has an estimated corruption rate greater than 2. He finds a spot to dry himself and thinks that he really is going to be busy for a while. On the morning of September 3rd, fishermen from Zhangzhou and Tongyang set out for the peak prawn season. However, the sea was not as calm as usual. Corrosion entities nesting on Tsutsushima Island appeared and abducted the fishermen as if hunting them like prey. According to one of the reports of a survivor who barely escaped, the captured fishermen are still alive. Thus, the mission parameters are as such. They will go to Tsutsushima Island to rescue the hostages and eliminate any corrosion creatures they find. That's basically the summary of the mission. The reward is 55 million won. If he handles this alone, it's all his, which is certainly not a bad amount. On top of that, if he succeeds, he gets a heroic story too, and a massive fame boost. It's worth the challenge. However, he has heard corrosion entities are on a different dimension depending on their rank. If a third-class corrosion entity has the destructive power of a tank, a second class is basically a natural disaster, and a first class requires the entire nation to mobilize against that single entity. He had no issues with the third class using the paradoxical phantasm flame. However, the second class will be much more difficult. Can he even withstand something like that? To eliminate the variables, he might need someone useful with him, but the capable ones wouldn't even glance at a private request like this. He is alone, but he eventually finds a partner, someone from his previous mission. As he rides toward the island, Sang-ah approaches him and asks how long they have until they reach Tsutsushima Island. He looks at his phone and guesses it will probably be about an hour. She should save her strength until they arrive. As he said, this battle will be tougher than the last. But is she even listening? Sang-ah really wasn't. She just asks about that thing on his shoulder. The Iron Seraph shoulder gear, isn't it? Judging by the leather finish enhancing the aesthetic, it's the limited edition one. Where did he even get something like this? Chansuk wonders where this came from. Was she always this talkative? The scrap dealer he signed with gave it to him as a gift, making Sang-ah sad, as the place she signed with didn't give her stuff like that. Chansuk coughs. Of course they didn't. The level of expectation is different after all. He is a rising prospect who soloed a third class. She is just a rookie hunter with nothing but the title of Academy Valedictorian. If she feels it's unfair, she should get strong, get stronger, and get famous, right? A few days ago, Chansuk explained that he needed a teammate for a mission, and asked if she could do it. Sang-ah felt mixed about it. She nearly died fighting a third class, but a second class is on an entirely different level. Sensing the hesitation, Chanseok asked if she wanted to get stronger. She asked if she could learn from him. That's what she said back then. If she still feels that same way, he will guarantee it. As long as he teaches her, she can become several times stronger than she is right now. Sang-ah agreed. She has a reason to get stronger after all. If only she can get stronger, then she would dive into hell itself if she has to. Suddenly, the ship they are on blares a high alarm as unidentified objects have been confirmed ahead. It seems the unidentified objects are ships, with 5 in total. But how do they get over there? There are civilians, so they need to cross undetected. As he says that, he asks Sang-ah if she has a good way, but she is already levitating, so she has a trick like that. Quite the trick, huh? Sang-ah guesses he can't do it then. Chansuk immediately gets serious, and as Sang-ah continues berating him, noting that it's actually really easy, well, eventually he just grabs onto her after giving her a hard time, and tells her to be careful with the water, as it's splashing all around. He can't walk on water just yet, but he will be able to soon. He looks on at the ships and tells Sang-ah to block the nearest ship, as he senses mana. It's emanating stronger energy toward the back. It's definitely more dangerous. As they continue levitating on the water, Sang-ah sees the figure of a person in the miasma, but Chanseok tells her to look closer, as that's not how a human moves. Sure enough, it's an undead, and they both jump on the ship at the same time. Chanseok isn't that impressed with her landing. If she continues doing so, she will blow out her knees eventually. Besides, she just drew unwanted attention from all of them. He presses his foot roughly into the ship's floor and unleashes a bunch of strikes, eliminating the undead all at once. This is good. Their strength level isn't that high. They are the lower tier of second class. In that case, Sang-ah should be able to do something too. Before he can order her around though, she is already gone. He screams at her that she is using far too much mana. At this rate, she will run dry in no time. For this level, a much lower output is sufficient. Sang-ah is reluctant, but she remembers what he said about becoming stronger. and clicks her tongue before reducing her output, but even so it's still far too much. She should reduce it even further. Sang-ah thinks that the life of weaklings is a tragedy. It's infinitely short and endlessly dark. She will never live like a weakling ever again. She must become stronger. As a zombie rushes in toward her, she cuts him in two perfectly. She has a reason to get stronger after all. If only she can, then she will dive into the darkest pit of hell. After Sang-ah takes care of the last undead on the ship, she steadies her breathing and calms her mana down. Chan-seok arrives on her ship too, and explains that he took care of the other boats while she was doing that. As she cleans her blade, Sang-ah notes that it wasn't a situation where she could be stubborn after all. She reluctantly thanks him for the advice, as she learned a lot. Chan-seok tells her not to mention it. The world is full of idiots who could not even learn even if he spoon-fed them after all. Sang-ah also tells him that this is the first time anyone's been giving her any advice. Chan-seok is confused by this. The academy is a place for learning, isn't it? Didn't her upperclassmen or peers help her? She explains that since she learned everything so quickly, everyone just said she was annoying. Chan-seok hopes that she doesn't think, if he keeps giving her advice like this, that she will become stronger than him. Sang-ah expected it actually, as there isn't a single teacher that she hasn't surpassed. This ticks Chan-seok off, and he tells her that it's not going to happen with him. He will make sure she will keep looking up at him for the rest of her life. Sang-ah feels pissed off for some reason after hearing this. After they arrive on the island, the two mariners they were with salute and wish them good luck on the rest of their journey. Chan-seok just shoos them away and explains that, according to the survivor, the hostages are at the shrine. Sang-ah notes that there are two shrines on this island, Gaijin Shrine and Atazumi Shrine. Chan-seok remembers that distance-wise, Gaijin Shrine should be their first stop. Sang-ah notes that they could run there in a couple of hours, but Chan-seok thinks the problem is they are going in light, but a trip back will be a different story. According to the report, there are 15 hostages. It will be even harder to get back if they are all wounded. Plus, he can feel some sinister mana beyond the fog that would tear skin off. The corrosion creatures all over the island will be chasing after them relentlessly. To avoid the creatures attacking during the rescue, and to return safely with the hostages, they will need a vehicle, and it seems that they have one. He asks Sang-ah if she's a good driver, and she confirms as such, though once they get on, it's for dear life. Sang-ah is not letting her foot off the gas. Are those brakes just for decoration? Well, he should forget it. Reckless driving is still better than his license, which has been gathering dust for the past 20 years. Besides, he is much better at fighting anyway, and there's a legion of undead following after them. He ties his spear to himself and suddenly throws it into one of the undead, shattering its head completely and taking his spear back, surprised by how sturdy it is. Suddenly, from the left, a bunch of undead are bearing down on them, and Chan-seok tells Sang-ah as such. Immediately, she swerves that shit around and puts it on two wheels, blindsiding the undead. Immediately, she begins laughing, telling them to roll on the pavement like mats. Chan-seok wonders if he really should have driven. Eventually, they find a path heading to the shrine, and they continue driving on it. They have to get inside. Sang-ah wonders what they will do about the monsters behind them, but Chan-seok tells her not to worry, as he will handle them. With that, Sang-ah jumps out of the car, and Chan-seok, since these bastards won't stop following them, unleashes the paradox flame all over, burning away the surface of the stairs, not allowing anyone to climb anymore. Sure enough, Sang-ah finds a bunch of people tied up to a post, and she comes closer, introducing herself as a hunter from the Hunter Association. They are safe now. Suddenly the man she spoke to begins to panic and scream, confusing Sang-ah, as they are not here to capture them, they came here to save them. However, the man was just trying to tell her to run away as fast as possible. Suddenly, a samurai-looking monster appears behind her, but before he can strike, Chan-seok blocks his sword. He tells Sang-ah to get the survivors in the car, as he will be handling this bastard. The samurai begins to try and cut him again and again, before clashing his blade once more into Chan-seok's spear, pushing him further before he can unleash another one of these strikes. He is suddenly hit from the side by the car, and Sang-ah screams at him to die. She completely pummels him into a nearby wall, and Chan-seok comes closer, noting that when they get back, he doesn't want her anywhere near the steering wheel. Sang-ah just tells him to get inside, and as they drive away, Chan-seok asks about the hostages, who are all on board. Suddenly though, Sang-ah sees something in the front, a bunch of the undead. It seems that they didn't get rid of all of them just yet, and that thing must be still alive even after getting hit by a car. He asks Sang-ah for her sword, but she doesn't want to, as asking a swordsman for their sword is a huge insult. Chan-seok asks her to choose between a swordsman and the people's lives. She knows perfectly well which one is more important, right? With reluctance, Sang-ah throws her blade upwards, and Chan-seok catches it, noting that he didn't expect to use this so soon. A few days ago, inside the Gyeongdong-do Grade 3 corrosion rift, he found an item, a glove, and it's not just an ordinary one. It is gathering mana from the atmosphere. Judging by its response, it's likely just basic equipment meant to supply one's own mana, but to him, something like this is much more than that. Taking into consideration the maximum mana storage capacity of this glove type, he has about 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, he can become strong enough to even rival Seun. As the glove activates, he unleashes a bunch of strikes all over, killing the incoming zombies with little effort. Even Sang-ah is surprised at how fast he cleared the path. Chan-seok tells her to drive and head to the port without looking back. As they get to the Hadakatsu port, the car is in an even rougher shape. and Chanseok notes that he thought he just had to get past those guys, but they just keep popping up. Sung-ah explains that the car is at its limit too. They should just get out and handle it. Chanseok tells her to drive, and before she can complain, they suddenly hit a barrier, and the undead can't get through it. Sang-ah is surprised that these guys who were chasing them like hell a moment ago just got blocked by something. Could it be because of this thing? Earlier, Chanseok drew it and explained it was a protective formation geometry. Simply put, it's a drawing method that repels monsters. Sang-ah wanted to know where he learned it from, but even if he did tell her, she wouldn't be able to learn it well. It's because he learned it in another world. Chanseok is pleased at how good he is. His skills are getting better and better, it seems. Sang-ah asks if this geometry method thing can repel any monsters, and Chanseok wished it could, but it doesn't work on actual ones. The samurai comes inside, muttering something about sacrificing and protecting no matter what. Suddenly, Sang-ah, with her keen eyes, can feel a line drawn at her throat, knowing that this is where the attack will definitely hit. This is Mind's Eye. Chanseok wonders what it is. The surrounding atmosphere has turned chilly too, but he doesn't feel all that threatening, all things considered. Sang-ah explains that opening one's eyes to new senses beyond the 5 senses allows the ability to predict an opponent's attack. Even for skilled masters, it's a difficult technique, so how can a mere thing like this do it? Seeing her shake, Chanseok puts a hand on her blade and tells her not to be discarding techniques like Mind's Eye or whatever. In reality, they are all just cheap tricks. She should watch closely, as he will teach her how to deal with things like that. The samurai immediately unsheathes his blade and begins throwing it around all over the place while Chanseok approaches it. Sang-ah tells him that he can't go alone, but Chanseok explains that Mind's Eye is just data accumulated through countless combat experiences. It's like an acquired reflex created from just that, since it reacts unconsciously to things like hostility or fear. Just projecting killing intent makes it end up in that sorry state. Naturally, there are not many guys who can do that, though things like Mind's Eye, Heart Sword, State of Selflessness, the union of man and sword, the myriad of streams returning to the origin, these so-called realms that they all preach about are actually just nothing special. With a single twist of his spear, he shatters the samurai, proving that he is right. The illusion named Enlightenment is quite terrifying. One gets excited by a special name and decides that this is enough, setting a limit for themselves. But what matters on the battlefield does not need a special name. He can assert this, and he has every right to do so, because to escape that threat himself, he paid with countless sacrifices. He's not pleased though. This samurai is the type that survived getting rammed by a car, but his ultimate move was just Mind's Eye. Sang-ah wonders what she even achieved by herself in this subjugation. While she kept telling herself this was her best, Chanseok far exceeded the strength she could ever imagine. She can't do this with a half heart like this. For the sake of her goal, she has to push forward. She has a favor to ask of him. She wants him to teach her for real this time. Chanseok wonders if he's not already doing that, but Sang-ah says advice and demonstrations are not enough. She doesn't want just that. She wants to ask for his direct guidance. Compared to him, she is ridiculously weak. That's why she wants to hurry it up even more. Chanseok sees the scar on her shoulder and asks for the reason. She explains that she wants to end Club Shandai with her own hands. The 8 most dangerous corruption rifts in the world are called the Great 8. Among them, Club Shandai is famous for swallowing the Himalayas in a single breath. Chanseok notes that this goal is bigger than necessary just for revenge. She confirms as such. She wants revenge for her family. Of course, she is not asking to do it for free. She hands him a card of the KY Group with a market capitalization of 257 trillion. It's the corporation that her family owns. Chanseok understands she is the daughter of a prominent family. Sang-ah confirms as such and explains that the owner is her grandfather. She gave up on the succession competition. Chanseok thinks that if she actually achieves something as a hunter, she might get swept up in the succession battle anyway. She probably didn't give him this card just to look at it, right? So what exactly does she want? She explains that she wants to be the best. In return, she will hand him elixirs, things that are hard to get, not released through general distribution channels. He wants to become stronger than he is now, just like her. With the elixir she can provide, he will be able to reach the realm he desires. She wouldn't believe him even if he told her that the realm he wants to reach he's already reached a long time ago. The reason he needs to become stronger is solely to return the world to the way it was before. He shakes hands with her, noting that he doesn't need things like that for now. More importantly, they should move the car to the medical center already. After they deposit everyone, they ask the doctors how long the recovery is going to take. The main doctor there explains that there are a total of 7 patients, considering their nutritional status. It will take at least a week before conversation is even possible. They will let them know when they regain their consciousness. They should allow them to rest. Chanseok says that's fine, and tells Sang-ah that they should start right away, which she certainly didn't expect. They go to an empty field, and before they start, Chanseok asks a question. If he swings his spear with full power, does she think she can dodge it? Sang-ah thinks that would be too difficult. They have quite a gap in skill after all, no. Chanseok explains that she can definitely dodge it. If she uses her senses to the absolute limit, it's possible. She should see with her eyes, hear with her ears, smell the scent, and feel it on her skin. If she dominates all of her senses and fights in the realm of consciousness, not unconsciousness, she can definitely do it. Shall they see if she has learned anything? Suddenly, Chanseok disappears before she can even realize it. She wonders where he went, but suddenly Chansok appears behind her and puts his spear at her neck. That was far too slow. Senses come first, then thoughts. In real combat, there is no time to think. She should accept the senses as they are and move, because senses she has not mastered yet will only deceive her. That's it for the theory, though now they should move on to practice. They continue fighting like this in the field for a while. One of the two guards of the hospital is watching the other, wondering what he was doing, but as he watches, he is mesmerized too by what is happening, by the sheer display of power before them. Chansok continues pushing Sang-ah again and again, who manages to hold her line for a bit, but Chansok swipes his spear in one sweeping motion, making her flinch, and then prepares a mighty strike, which she knows she cannot dodge. Suddenly though, one of the guards grabs their attention, noting that one of the survivors just woke up. They should go together. Chansok is glad to hear that, since it seems Sang-ah has also learned to block somewhat well. They will end the first training session here and go inside. With that, they both go to the man who has just woken up and explain that, unless he was hallucinating or something, a truck came to the place where he was held captive, and people got out of it. Sang-ah wonders if they were other hostages, but the man denies it. They were too calm to be captives, and furthermore, the monsters were not hostile to them at all. In fact, it looked like the monsters were helping them. They picked out a few hostages and moved them to the truck. Chansok found it strange that there were only 7 hostages out of the 15, so that was the reason then. The fortunate thing is that there was one person who escaped from that place, and thanks to them, they were able to rescue the others as well. The man explains that it wasn't an escape. Those people let them go on purpose. Sang-ah is surprised, but Chansok isn't, so that's what it was after all. It's strange that a mere civilian broke through and escaped a place that 2 skilled hunters barely managed to enter. Unless someone had let them go, Chansok would change careers right now. She asks if that means coming here was a trap in itself, but what on earth could they be trying to do? Chansok is becoming increasingly annoyed. How dare they pull such a cheap trick? The sheer audacity of them. She wonders why he is so angry. Is it because they underestimated him? Or is it because they used human lives to set a trap? Chansok asks the men if he can give out any more details, and he explains that he saw a cat. On the waist of the person who got out of the truck, there was a cat mascot. He was sure of it. After they get out of the hospital, Chansok notes that the airport mascot is a cat. How did she even figure it out? Sang-ah wonders if his smartphone is just for decoration, and Chansok notes that she wouldn't know since she is so rich. But commoners get hit with a bill bomb if they press the internet button. Sang-ah tells him that isn't the case anymore. Did he just come out of a cave or something? Anyway, she doesn't see anything around this part. Should they just go back to the shrine? Suddenly though, Chansok sees something. Someone with a face full of piercings. What did he fall face first into a sewing machine or something? Unlike how ridiculous he looks though, this guy is definitely no ordinary person. The man with the piercings introduces himself as Kim Ji-hyun. He is the one who brought them all here alive. Chansok asks what he means by that. Ji-hyun shows them the alternative, throwing someone directly into a dark portal that goes directly to the corrosion zone. Sang-ah guesses as such, but why would he be throwing people there? They can't get out until the core is destroyed. Suddenly though, the man he threw in actually turned into a corrosion zombie. But just as Ji-hyun expected, such a weak host yielded nothing but a useless zombie. With that, he destroys the man completely, with one single kick. Sang-ah is surprised, and asks if he wants to turn them into one of those things too. But why? Ji-hyun explains that naturally, it is because sacrificing mere ordinary people was never enough to create a truly satisfactory member of the corrosion. Now Chansok understands these people aren't trying to ransom the hostages, they need the hostages themselves. Ji-hyun explains that personally, he doesn't care about any of them, but the elder insists. He said he should explain for the sake of the greater good, so they should all listen closely. They are the heirs of Dangun. They have gathered for a very special purpose, and they move to achieve it, to maintain and strengthen the hegemony Korea currently holds, so that nobody dares to challenge them. Suddenly, he puts his foot into the ground, throwing the 2 cars near him into the air. They will build a truly powerful nation, one that cannot be denied any further. Suddenly, with a powerful kick, he sends one of the cars flying towards them, and Chansok asks when he is even going to get a break. Using one wide slash, he cuts the vehicle into 2, but he doesn't understand their motives. As far as he knows, their country is already a major power, isn't it? Ji-hyun charges in, and explains that this is not enough. They will make this country one to be truly proud of, a nation that nobody dares to look down upon, a superpower truly strong and remarkable. He should think of the history of this peninsula, constantly extorted for tribute, forced to humble themselves at every single opportunity, and look what happened. Their sovereignty was stolen from under their feet. They must never forget the humiliations they have endured. Chansok ignores all his platitudes and thinks that he must be a taekwondo black belt and is currently unarmed. However, he is much faster than expected. Suddenly, Ji-hyun manages to hit him, vowing that they will pay them all back. Chansok stumbles back, thinking that he is fast, but he can still handle his strength. Honestly, what he is saying now actually makes a bit of sense. If all the corrosion zones disappear, Korea will struggle to maintain its current position like usual. But this is all to say that they have no intention of saving the world, right? Ji-hyun confirms as such. Why would they do such a thing? Chansok explains that many lives are in danger. Does he not understand where priorities should be put right now? Ji-hyun tells him that he's the one who doesn't understand, because they found a way to control the corrosion zones. Chansok is a bit surprised, as if what he is saying is true. That would change everything. If they can control the corrosion zones, they won't have to risk their lives anymore. They could all live comfortably and safely. He explains that, after hearing that, he is willing to cooperate. How much control do they have? If the conditions are right, he will hand over Sang-ah. Before she can protest, Ji-hyun asks why he should tell him anything. They've already achieved sufficient control. Chan-seok stops him. Really? Sufficient but not full control. Is it just as he thought? They are all frauds? Do what people like them always do? They talk a lot but have no real proof. As he continues speaking, Ji-hyun gets annoyed and jumps in again with a powerful kick that Chan-seok gets out of. He thinks that maybe he overdid it. He was trying to buy time to recharge his mana glove, but oh well, there's nothing for it now. He can no longer use the paradoxical phantasm flame. With his current abilities, a war of attrition is the best he can do. Suddenly though, as Ji-hyun charges in, Sang-ah joins the battle, grazing right where his head would have been. Ji-hyun is annoyed. He thought she would just stand there, paralyzed with fear. Is she feeling brave right now? Sang-ah tells him that she cannot fight him. She should not get involved. However, Sang-ah saw his gauntlet. He is out of mana, isn't he? And he needs time. She pops a vial with some strange liquid and asks how much time he needs. He says 5 minutes, and so she drinks it and tells him to leave this to her. Chan-seok wonders how many elixirs she has drunk up until now. He worries she could really suffer an overload. Sang-ah explains that this is an emergency, so there is only one shot, right? Chan-seok agrees. Well, after 5 minutes, he can finish this crap. Sang-ah hopes he doesn't lose. With a thunderous cry from the sky, they begin battling. Sang-ah, using all she knows, stands up against Ji-hyun. He tells her to relax, as he might just kill her by accident if she doesn't, though she unleashes a mighty strike that is as fast as a thunderbolt. She wonders if she got him, and it seems to be the case, but the attack didn't do much, as Ji-hyun jumps to her side and kicks her away. However, she held the line for enough time. Chan-seok grabs her and asks if he is ready to die. Ji-hyun feels the increase of mana compared to before. There's no way he could gather mana that quickly, right? Has he been hiding this strength his whole time? Chan-seok wonders why he is so surprised. It's the same principle as his piercings, is it not? Ji-hyun asks how he knows about that, but Chan-seok notes that only a fool would not notice. He should look around him. The air is filled with purified mana. He's exhausted more than he can handle, so that mana is leaking everywhere. Well, thanks to that, he's restored his mana for paradoxical phantasm flame, so he should thank him, right? Ji-hyun asks what he is talking about. There is no such thing as a method to absorb wasted mana. Suddenly, Chan-seok appears behind him and tells him that he doesn't need to know, as he is going to die today anyway. With that, he uses the blue trajectory 16 hit chain combo, completely overwhelming Ji-hyun. With this attack, he cannot even breathe. It's not just his lungs that he can't feel, he also can't feel his heartbeat. Chan-seok sees that he is trying to maintain his pride, seeing how he is barely standing, using mana even though he has burned away all his muscle strength. He should be falling. He should give up though. However, Ji-hyun summons the strength to ask the captain for help, and suddenly, a mighty strike appears from the sky, which Chan-seok can only block and not dodge. He wonders who the hell it is this time, and the captain explains that he was intending to crush his wrist at least, but he pulled out his spear and actually blocked that. He has really good instincts. Chan-seok wonders what he is using, traditional Korean archery, in this day and age. Isn't that just a bit too much? However, the energy he feels around him is worthy of being called a captain. He has to admit it, but he is at least twice as strong as Sewon, and his skill is perhaps 3 or 4 times greater. The captain is pleased that he has guts, but perhaps it's that he doesn't fear death. Chan-seok notes that if the captain had planned to kill him, he probably would have done so already, since he clearly hasn't. He is probably interested in this. Using one finger, he accelerates the flames around Ji-hyun, who pleads for help as he tries to breathe but can't. The captain tells him to first extinguish those flames, something he will not say twice. Chan-seok thinks it over. Kim Ji-hyun's mana was already depleted before he collapsed. This guy in the hood is keeping him alive with his own mana. Even so, if the arrow he just shot had aimed for his head instead of his wrist, he would be dead by now, but he did not do that. With this in mind, he freezes Ji-hyun, and the captain catches him, telling him that he did a good job. He asks Chan-seok if he realizes what he did to Ji-hyun. Since he has no muscle strength left, he will spend his youth in a wheelchair with a catheter circulating his blood and mana, but he will be just a vegetable. It is true that he needs to take him in alive, but that does not mean he needs to take him whole. Chan-seok tells him to try it, because he would rather drop dead from a heart attack than become his puppet. Seeing him envelop himself in his own flames, the captain explains that until he understands the principle of that flame, he has no choice but to withdraw. He should keep in mind, however, that when the corrosion rift appeared, no one thought the corrosion rifts could ever be controlled. Even so, he succeeded. Someday, Chan-seok too will be under his control. That is an inevitability. Chan-seok curses his luck. He got entangled with someone with a really nasty temper, it seems. Sang-ah approaches and asks if those guys are after his unique skill. Chan-seok confirms as such, although he does not know the reason. Sang-ah thinks they could have just taken him hostage while he was unconscious. Chan-seok notes that they might know about her background, but she doesn't understand why terrorists would care for something like that. He tells her to think carefully about what they are doing, and their objectives. Would the Korean government truly dislike it? Honestly, they might even be receiving direct support from them. Sang-ah thinks that because of this, they shouldn't eliminate this corruption rift, right? Chan-seok doesn't really care. They should just pretend not to know. Sang-ah would like to, but she is not good at lying, and he figured this much. They should save the discussion for later, though. She should wait here, as he is going in alone. Sang-ah wonders if he would really be okay with her not following him, as they don't know what's down there. But Chun-seok turns around, saying that he will know once he goes. She should just rest, and recover until he gets back. He jumps into the rift, and arrives at the Tsushima Corrosion Rift, inside, which is a very large, Japanese-looking keep. Chun-seok looks around, feeling the mana, noting that for a castle of squishy undead, this is terrifyingly solid. The yin energy feels like it pierces his lungs with every breath. He can tell without being told, that right behind this door, right in this building, is the core of the Corrosion Rift. He doesn't like thinking like this before a battle. However, if he lets his guard down even once, he will definitely die here. He goes inside and finds a cauldron with green fire in it. This is the core of the Grade 2 Corrosion Rift. This is far from what he expected. Suddenly, though, someone grabs his leg from behind. It's another human who pleads for help. His legs are gone, and it hurts so much. He just wants to get out of here, but the cauldron produces a long tongue and sweeps the man off his feet before devouring him completely. Well, not completely, as the man comes out as an undead. So it's the cauldron that was creating the undead, using people alive for it. Chun-seok can't help but remember something from the past, when people did the same thing. He almost throws up. They really are disgusting. Suddenly, an ethereal voice notes that he is just another sacrifice. However, this one is strange. It differs from the previous sacrifices. This fierce, yet familiar energy. Yes, it's the energy of a warrior, is it not? He tells Chun-seok to draw his weapon, as he wishes to temper his blade in a warrior's blood. Chun-seok guesses that this is the real core of the second-grade corrosion rift. The pressure is enough to make the hair on his body stand on end. This hooded man subdued this monster alive and is controlling it. How in the world did he do such a thing? No, not even he was on this level, right? That means there's something else stronger than him. The warrior tells him not to be careless, and to think of the battle ahead. The warrior suddenly unleashes a strike that Chun-seok can barely dodge. He is annoyed, as this bastard is incredibly fast. The method for dealing with a strong opponent, though, is simple. Before they grasp his weakness, he must end it in a single strike. The swordsman recognizes this and musters up all his strength to parry the strike. Chun-seok is impressed. That was his maximum output, but he blocked it. What is more surprising than the block is that he did not see the motion of it at all. The swordsman tells him that, by nature, a swift attack should be unseen like this. Sure enough, Chun-seok can barely recognize the blade in front of him as it arrives, and he is forced to take a hit elsewhere to not die. He can't believe this. This bastard could move even faster than that. The swordsman explains that he is doing well at making him miss his vital points. If that is the case, though, he should try blocking this as well. He suddenly unleashes a bunch of strikes, and Chun-seok cannot defend against all of them, so he falls on his knees. Suddenly, though, he raises the paradox flame around him. He did not expect that he would have to bring it out so soon. The problem is that, since this is not a living being, paradox flame has no meaning as an attack. He wonders what he should even do. The swordsman is surprised. He dealt a series of surprises to him, so he made him curious about what must be done to make him fall forever. Suddenly, he unleashes his blade again, and cuts Chun-seok in the back, tearing every muscle in his body. As Chun-seok falls down again, the swordsman withdraws his blade, thinking that it is over, but Chun-seok suddenly appears behind him. He nearly lost his consciousness at that point, but for some reason, this guy failed to tear the muscles above his shoulders. He's got to use paradox flame to boost his recovery and rapidly heal the torn muscles, and now that he's taken his back before he noticed, maybe he has a chance. He tries to strike the swordsman, but he dodges and appears behind him, because as he said, he is far too slow for this battle. The swordsman strikes, making Chun-seok bleed on the ground, but he actually missed his neck once again, only by inches, and only on purpose. Chun-seok becomes annoyed and throws him off. The swordsman, not expecting to have missed there, clearly is quite lucky. Chun-seok tells him to stop lying. He definitely could have killed him there. He's been holding back the finishing blow and keeping him alive this entire time. What the hell is he doing? Is he toying with him out of pity? The swordsman agrees he definitely could have killed him if it were the old him. Right now, this one cannot even recall a single name. Most of his memories from his life have been lost. The gaps in his technique, caused by memory loss, were fatal. He was defeated by an unidentified man, and was even fitted with this disgraceful-looking shackle. Chun-seok thinks that the body remains, but the experience and memories are mostly gone. It is the exact opposite situation of his. That shackle must be the control those guys were talking about. The swordsman explains that he has lost far too much. His name, and the reason he even took up the blade in the first place. All that remains is a resentment steeped in deep sorrow. Chun-seok looks at him as he begins transforming, taking off his cloak, and the swordsman asks if he does not look truly pitiful. Chun-seok can feel his resentment, the resentment he speaks of. It has grown denser, however. He has lost a significant amount of his technique and experience. If he can't kill him in just one strike, he has a chance of defeating him. He must pour out everything and use his full power. They continue standing against each other. The swordsman thinks that black flames cover this man, and that all of his wounds and energy are restored. He possesses a certain peculiar ability. It appears the black flame is burning something else. Chun-seok notes that his eyes are pretty sharp. This flame burns concepts. It may appear to possess infinite destructive power to the uninitiated, but that isn't quite the case right now. Just as the conceptual magnitude of the fatigue of an individual differs from the friction of a staircase, The greater the quantity and scope of the concept, the more mana and proficiency it demands. Since larger applications are harder to control, he must be careful not to get swept away by the backlash. When he took down Kim Ji-hyun, for example, he had to be careful not to burn away his own muscle strength as well. Of course, if it were the him from back then, he wouldn't have needed to worry about control in the first place. If the him from another world was a great sword, then the current him is merely a butter knife. He's been using it with minimal risk so far. However, it seems that this is not the time to be picky about that. From now on, he is going to burn away all of this place's durability. The swordsman is surprised by the durability. He doesn't understand what he means. Chan-seok waves a dismissive hand. He is done explaining. Enough already. So he will skip the explanation this time. Suddenly he strikes the swordsman, who is taken aback by the speed. Chan-seok tells him to try to understand while he is getting hit. Since he has figured out that this guy has a limit, it actually works out perfectly. He was curious to see just how far the current him would go. The swordsman believes they should take this elsewhere, and suddenly they both crash out of the building and into the air, creating a mix of dark and blue energies. Their clashes create a show of light that is akin to a fireworks show. The swordsman clashes his sword into Chan-seok's spear, and with enough pressure, actually manages to cut through it before unleashing a mighty technique, the slash. The mountains behind Chan-seok shatter completely as they are cut, but Chan-seok himself dashes away through one of the broken rocks and dashes toward the swordsman, unleashing his multiple strike technique. The swordsman falls down, wondering what he sees. He has never encountered this, not even on the battlefields of his past. Just what could he be? Chan-seok is not done. He appears out of the sky and continues his slashes, hitting him again and again and again, until the swordsman completely loses his form and appears as a malevolent spirit. He screams out and rushes toward Chan-seok, who does the same, and they begin to slash at each other, hitting each other constantly, but neither wants to give up until one of them falls. They continue clashing, creating an awe-inspiring amount of power right in the middle of the broken mountains. In the past, someone asked him what he would do if he met an opponent he absolutely couldn't defeat. He was just curious after all. How would he handle it? A battle against a warrior equal to himself? He knew this question might not seem interesting to him, but he just wanted to know. Chan-seok thought about it. An opponent he absolutely could not defeat. If someone appeared with him, with power equal to his, it would be obvious, right? Between him and that opponent, one of them would not be coming out alive. It seems that this time it was he who has won. The swordsman knows he has been defeated and takes his defeat with honor. This was a really good last battle. Chan-seok thinks that one thing is certain though. As expected, he really is the strongest, with the exception of Satoru Gojo, of course. The swordsman slowly dissipates, and out of him comes the reward. Chan-seok is glad that it's the same as the other world. He opens the chest and is rewarded with a spear, but it's too short for a spear, right? As he pours some mana into it though, the spear lunges, making itself extremely long, before retracting back. He thinks this will certainly be useful, and he heard previously that drops are based on the number of people who entered the rift, so he only got one. He really should have brought Sang-ah here, and kept her safely tucked away somewhere, just to collect her share of the rewards on top of his own. However, it seems that the swordsman's sword is actually still in one piece. Sang-ah decided to sleep on the ground next to the rift, deciding to wait for Chan-seok, but suddenly she's woken up by a sword flying toward her head. She wakes up and asks what the deal with this sword is. She hasn't seen it before. Chan-seok explains that he found it on the way here. Judging by the guy who wielded it, it's a fine blade. She should take it. She says that is a really great sword actually, and it's well maintained too. But where could he have even found a sword like this? Is it from the corruption rift? Did he come back okay? Chan-seok tells her to forget it. She probably got enough rest while he was gone. Right now he's going to do the same too. Suddenly he faints right in front of her, and Sang-ah expected as much. There is an insurmountable wall between grade 3 and 2. Because of that, when the news of Chan-seok's solo clear of grade 2 became public, and the weight of that achievement was on an entirely different level, everyone was speaking about it. He was on billboards too, all wondering who he is. Chan-seok also was spammed with messages, and he definitely can't walk outside either, since people know of his location. He met up with a person though. Ja Soo-jung, from the Secretariat of Embargo Tower, visits him. Chan-seok invites her inside, thanking her for covering his hospital biz, but he is surprised, because he has never even heard of Embargo Tower before. Soo-jung explains that they aren't very well known to the general public, mainly because of their primary field. If he experiences any discomfort during his stay, they should let him know at any time. Chan-seok is not uncomfortable, but curious about this treatment, and hospital room fees, which do not seem cheap at all. So there must be something they want from him, right? They shouldn't waste any time and get straight to the point. Soo-jung agrees, but also wonders if he likes cake. The shield generator is a device that creates a barrier to defend against corrosion creatures. As Chan-seok eats some of the cake, he reads the file. Basically, they want to transport a shield generator device that utilizes mana, and want to entrust that job to him, right? Soo-jung agrees, although it is just a prototype made in the US. Over time, if successfully mass-produced, it will definitely be able to bring some relief to the areas that hunters can't reach. It is a crucial mission that could potentially change the fate of humanity. Chan-seok guesses there's a pretty large-scale request for this, and Soo-jung confirms as such. They are currently checking if other hunters will willingly cooperate as well. It seems that Janabi has agreed to assist them this time. Chan-seok is surprised, It appears this is a bigger deal than they thought. Soo-jung explains that they will be transporting the shield generator by train after they part from Vladivostok. Once it arrives in the Netherlands, it will be immediately sent by helicopter to Dover in the UK for a test run. Chan Seok wonders why the UK, and she explains that it's because Ristorante, one of the great 80s, is located in Naples, Italy. Its influence reaches everywhere from Europe to North Africa. The only somewhat safe place left is the UK, since it's slightly protected by the area. Europe is currently in a state of anarchy. Governments are failing to function properly, and hunter companies have seized control of areas. These hunter companies, acting like warlords, will be transporting relief supplies at the request of international organizations. Chan Seok understands there will be a considerable number of people targeting the train. She asks if he has any experience traveling abroad, and he says that this will be his first time in Europe. This leads Soo-jung to note that they will likely encounter many horrific situations there. Chan Seok asks what she means by they, and she explains that for this mission, data collection and analysis are being overseen by Embargo Tower. Personally, she will be dispatched, and she will be one of them. It will be nice to have a familiar face around. Chan Seok is surprised that she's speaking like his participation is a given, but he has one condition. He would like Sang-ah to accompany them. He made a promise to her after all, and she's a trustworthy friend. Soo-jung notes that since he trusts her, then they should be the ones asking her to join them, right? Chan Seok thanks her for saying that and looks forward to working with them, thinking that he will be able to expand his influence much farther than expected and sooner. Later, a plane arrives on the hospital's roof. To think they would mobilize a helicopter just to pick him up for a civilian mission. It seems solving a grade 2 corrosion rift really is different from a grade 3, isn't it? The chairman agrees. It was the moment his expectations turned into certainty. The association will also do its best to guarantee his activities to the fullest. Chan Seok is pleased to hear that, as expected. Proving his skills makes things run far smoother, but he wonders if the chairman knows about those guys. If he does, how would he react? Wouldn't he want this wretched reality that has befallen Earth to end someday? Or would he want it to be maintained? As he enters the plane, he is met with Se-woon, who knows that it's been a while. She explains that rumors about him have spread all around, right? Chan Seok knows at this point it would be harder to find someone who doesn't know about him. Chan Seok also wonders why they are heading to a military base out of all places, and she explains that it's because the South Korean military is also planning to participate in the request for the Embargo Tower. Chan Seok agrees that finding a country that isn't interested in the shield generator would be rare. If it succeeds, it would mean their influence is reduced. The hunters for national defense would decrease. However, from South Korea's perspective, he doesn't know, and he doesn't think they would like that very much. He asks if she knows anything about the organization called the Heirs of Dangun. She notes that if he means those ultra-nationalist terrorist groups, then yes, she knows them. Honestly, she is more surprised that he knows about them. Chan Seok explains that he ran into them while handling that mission on Tsutsushima Island, and she explains that they are composed entirely of Koreans. They have been showing up all over the place when hunters are in the middle of cleaning a corruption rift, their specialty suddenly popping up and interfering. Chan Seok understands the gist of it, and it's not like he doesn't understand why they think that. Suddenly, Se-woon becomes sorrowful and throws him another candy. She asks if he has never been out of the country before, confusing him, as everyone keeps asking him the same thing. He explains that this is his first time traveling so far, and now she understands why he would think that way. But this mission will probably make him realize a bunch of things. After they arrive at the military base, the chief notes that it's about time to begin the briefing. They should all refer to the provided documents as they proceed, as he will be giving them a brief overview of the operation. This is Chief Supervisor Ahun Seo. He explains that a train convoy under their protection consists of 80 cars in total. 65 of those are designated for cargo and essential supplies. The remaining 15 cars will serve as living quarters for the personnel, ensuring the well-being of the hunters and South Korean military forces on this mission. Chan Seok thinks that Se-woon will be granted exclusive use of an entire car. VIP hunters really do get treated differently, right? The chief also explains one more thing. Embargo Tower has entrusted the protection of the car, housing the shield generator, to a specific group of hunters, including Monkey LLC. However, considering the length of the route and the inevitable fatigue it will cause, should they not share guard duties with other units, including the military? Se-woon explains that it is not an option. He must understand that, since Monkey LLC is managing the shield generator directly, many factions will be targeting it. For that reason, absolutely no one outside of Monkey LLC is permitted near the generator's location. The chief is surprised that she is so direct, and notes that he would like to continue. These are the projected threats along the route. The chief explains that they have to pass through several affected regions, but there are 7 specific points where alpha corrosion sources are close enough to actually pose a threat. In addition, the criminal syndicates roaming the Siberian wilderness are threats that cannot be overlooked. Se-woon is a little amused. A train robbery, just like in a spaghetti western or something. The chief continues, noting that they have also sent official notes to the 8 territory lords in Europe, but only 3 of them have sent an official response. Chan Seok gets what this means. The rest of them should be considered hostile. Because of this, people begin to speak, wondering how many enemies they will face during this 2-week mission. They have corrosion entities, bandit gangs, and even territory warlords. Is something like this even possible? Honestly, they should assume it's not. Se-woon tells everyone not to worry, as she will ensure that the train reaches its destination safely. no matter what happens. On the day of the operation, in Vladivostok station, everyone gathers, and they all go to their assigned cars, boarding the train immediately. Naturally, Chansuk is there too, mad that he has to walk so far to the first-class cars. As he walks though, he also spots Sang-ah, who is surprisingly early. She notes that after this mission is over, she will give him the medical potion that she promised. Chansuk wonders where she's been hiding, as he hasn't seen her as of late. She explains that he's sitting comfortably in a first-class car, so how could he see someone as awful as her? She didn't see Seyun on her way here either, so they are just a triangle of special treatment, aren't they? Suddenly, Sujong appears too. Seeing Sang-ha in person, Sujong thinks she really gives off an incredibly intimidating aura. Chang-seok is quite early as well though. Has he taken a look around the train yet? Chang-seok explains that he just got here anyway. It looks like Embargo Tower is really going all out for something like this, as what they will be protecting is a literal fortress on tracks, seemingly impenetrable. Won't all of this armor just make them stand out and invite even greater danger? Sujong denies this. Even if it attracts attention, it's much safer because the cars are plated with depleted uranium, like military vehicles. Chansok understands and thinks that, since they have Siwoon with them, it's hard to imagine something like this failing. Well, he kinda spoke too soon, as they are immediately attacked by monsters. One of the hunters demands backup at car 57. Chansok immediately rushes in, thinking that they haven't even been moving for 10 minutes, and the corrosion entities are already swarming all over. There really is no end to them. This would be a lot easier if Siwoon helped, but whatever. The train's Siberian railway is currently damaged, so to ensure the train can keep moving, they are forced to repair the tracks on the fly. However, the personnel responsible for such repairs cannot fend off the corrosion entities on their own. Therefore, a hunter must be stationed with them for protection at all times, and ironically, Siwoon was assigned that role. She is the strongest hunter they have here, yet she is stuck in one spot, and forbidden from fighting. If he were the commander of this operation, he'd shoot whoever came up with that moronic plan. He proves his point by cutting down a few more dozen that appeared, making himself think he really should have kept his mouth shut. This will be a really, really long trip. Somewhere else, a Russian man is carrying a mighty-looking beast which he has presumably killed. He sees someone and asks, "What's happening over here?" It's that asshole Lila again. Suddenly, the beast he had presumed dead wakes up and immediately tries to rip his head off, but the man doesn't even flinch, and uses his hand cannon to blast it apart. After blasting it apart, Ha-yun talks to the men, noting that Nikolai always does crazy things, appearing out of nowhere. This is Lee Ha-yun. He notes that it's been a while since they last saw each other. He came here because he has a proposition for him, though as soon as he arrived, he was treated to quite a spectacular show. The territory lord of Vladivostok, Nikolai Baranov himself, was out fishing. Nikolai calls him a bastard. He caught that creature and knocked it out on purpose to have his dinner, but Ha-yun went and woke it up. Ha-yun notes that he'd better clean up the blood first, but wonders, do people in Russia really eat creatures like this? Nikolai notes that they have many food sources in Korea, which makes them a bit arrogant. So what is this job he has for him? Just so he knows, he is really not short on cash, but Ha-yun is sure he will find this rather interesting. There is a train departing from Vladivostok that is expected to pass through this area. It should be here within the next day or two. Nikolai tells him to stop with the jokes. Does he not know the Siberian railway was destroyed a long time ago? Ha-yun explains that among those who have awakened their mana circuits, there are some who can perform repairs as long as they have the materials. Nikolai is surprised, making repairs on the go. He has not thought of that, but what are they transporting? Ha-yun doesn't say. What should interest him is who is guarding it. It's the candy lady from Monkey LLC. Nikolai is surprised by this, and asks if he already knew she was coming. Does that mean he has prepared for it? Ha-yun agrees, and Nikolai gets quite amused, robbing a train guarded by none other than Seyun. This sure sounds like fun. Ha-yun doesn't think of it as a robbery, as Monkey LLC's contract is to protect a specific car on that train. So Nikolai asks what it is. He just has to blow it to pieces, right? Ha-yun says it's not that either, thinking that he really is some lowly piece of trash. He will have to board the train and connect this terminal device to the machine stored inside. After he does what he asks, he can go ahead and destroy anything he wants. Nikolai accepts. In fact, this really is excellent. Not just the cars. Nikolai is going to slaughter every hunter on that train, right in front of Siwoon's eyes, as Nikolai has a score to settle with her. Chansok continues fighting, expertly killing any creature that comes their way, and the other hunters are surprised. That guy is a rookie who just became a hunter. He probably slaughtered 100 creatures by himself. He is more of a monster than they all are. Chansok puts his spear down, thinking that this just about covers it anyway. They've barely started, and these guys are already battered. How useless are they? He should just assume he is fighting alone at this point. However, Sang-ah tells them to get up, as the mission is not yet over, and they cannot let their guard down. Chansuk laughs, and tells her to stop showing off, but as expected, she is the only useful one here. Suddenly he hears a rumble, wondering if there's an avalanche somewhere. They all get a message from the control room noting that they have spotted an obstacle on the tracks, but they are proceeding as normal. Siwoon also intervenes, and tells them to stop the train now. They are about to get hit by an enemy. Sure enough, just as she says this, a powerful blast rushes toward the train at incredible speeds, but she immediately dashes over and parries the strike away, deflecting it like a burst of light. This was the signal for the bandits to attack, and Sang-ah wonders who these guys are. How did they even get here? Chanseok tells her to calm down. Didn't she read the briefing? There's only one group near Khabarovsk who would pull something like this. It's Nikolai's armed gang. Naturally, Sewon wonders if they've been waiting for them like this. And suddenly, a bunch of talismans are thrown her way, which immediately connect and let out a dark rippling blast from the sky. Sang-ah notices and calls Sewon, asking if something is wrong. And sure enough, it is. As Sewon has been sealed, the chief taps into the communicators and grabs the attention of all hunters. They are currently under attack from the side of the train. Sewon is currently unable to fight. The enemy numbers are estimated to be at least 500. That is 10 times their current fighting force. Since their commander is out, they will have to defend the train and fight them all off. Chanseok tells Sang-ah to follow after him, and the hunters wonder how crazy he must be. Did he just jump into fight? They are 50 against 500. But well, they can't just let the rookies go in all alone, right? They should finish this while they still can. Sewon grips her sword tightly, thinking that she will return to the front lines as quickly as possible. But Ha-yun suddenly notes that it will not be as easy as she expects. Sewon asks if this is his doing, and he confirms as such. He introduces himself as one of the descendants of Dangun. By the way, he saw that she was from the Prince Yang Yang branch, so doing the math, one can see that he is her distant nephew. It is quite wonderful to run into family in such a foreign land. Without waiting for an answer, Sewon smashes her blade into the shield, but it actually breaks. Ha-yun waves a dismissive hand, as it is not a seal that will break that easily. She is better off surrendering now, he says, as though a broken sword would stop her. Sewon wonders why he is making such a fuss over a single broken sword, and rolls one of her rings, making Ha-yun scoff. He can't believe she brought that with her. Sewon is surprised he recognizes something like this. This is the mirror ring, an artifact Sewon obtained after eliminating a grade 1 corrosion core. It can register exactly one piece of equipment, and the moment that registered item breaks, it's duplicated and placed right back into the owner's hand. Ha-yun is displeased that she is so brutish as to have planned to smash it until it broke. Sewon snaps bluntly that if he keeps talking like that, he really won't be popular with the ladies in the afterlife. Chanseok and the others face the horde, and Nikolai asks if they can really fight back with those pitiful numbers. He decides who makes it out of here alive, so they should drop their weapons and surrender, as they just might spare all of them. Chanseok asks if this is Nikolai. How strange that he can't sense any mana from him, even though he is flying. Sang-ah explains that the suit he has was created 10 years ago during the Predator project. It was designed to allow ordinary people to fight even without mana. The North Korean military made a few prototypes to test it out, but she heard the project was crap due to the materials being so rare. Chanseok doesn't get it. Why is something like that in the hands of a Russian gang boss? Sang-ah has steeled herself for this, though she has only ever killed corrosion entities. Can she really do it with humans? Chanseok notes that it must be her first time with humans, right? If she thinks she can't handle it, she should really step back. Sang-ah notes that he hasn't fought humans before either. They're trying to kill them anyway, so they are no different from corrosion entities. Before she can finish her sentence, one of the gang members rushes in, aiming his axe at her head, but suddenly his head comes clean off as Chanseok cuts it. He tells her to do it if she thinks she can, although she shouldn't let the guilt eat her alive. It will fade away in a few days, or maybe a month. It will fade faster if she keeps moving forward. Thank you for watching. See you next time.